Welcome back to a very special edition of the Remedial Film Class podcast, as we branch off on a side quest of sorts and drag George kicking and screaming through the entire Friday the 13th series. But wait.
There's more.
Not only are we going to make him watch every Friday the 13th, I don't know if he knows this yet, this might be news to George, we're also going to drag him along and show him some of the influences that brought Jason into the hearts and wallets of so much of the American public in the 80s. How you doing, George?
Well, Dan, I'm doing quite well.
Excellent. And Travis, are you ready to educate him?
I'm here. I'm ready.
All right. So, Jason. I spent a lot of time with Mr. J today. So, George.
In fact, you're on a first-name basis.
Yes.
Ooh. So, George, you've seen Friday the 13th. You didn't get enough Jason in the original Friday the 13th. I could just tell from your voice that you just need a little bit more J in your face.
I agree.
J in your day.
So, we've brought you a unique opportunity. Unlike our normal format, you've already seen Friday the 13th Part 2. You watched it today.
That's correct.
So we're going to talk about it. But then we're going to do a little extra credit live for the audience as we take you through two of the major influences on Friday the 13th Part 2, and we show you where Jason came from. And I don't mean the bottom of the lake.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm excited for this too, because this is a new avenue for me as well.
Hooray! I am very excited to talk about my favorite masked slasher. So a lot of the stuff I want to cover today, George, we're going to have to cover after we've seen the extras. So I want to start with you as the subject of the re-education of George.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you're thinking after watching your first horror sequel.
And your first Jason movie.
And your first real Jason movie.
Again, it wasn't what I expected.
Yay.
It was, number one, there was no hockey mask at all.
Right?
Right?
Wait, what?
So that was... So I'm like...
what?
So I'm like, what? Okay, like, wow, they're really, like, taking a while to get to this. You know, when you actually see him, I'm like, he did... Oh, okay, he's not there yet. And it even made me think, you know, is this even actually Jason?
Right, because they start doing the same screenshots as they do with the mother, where it's just like little cropped, hands and chests and all that stuff. So you're like, I'm not really sure what he looks like.
Well, you could tell it was not a female.
Right.
there
There
a dick
yeah,
in
the
it?
hands. you saw
This
his
little...
You saw his hand with his like thumb that looked like it just got slammed in a car door.
Yeah.
That didn't look like a female hand to me. I could be wrong, but it didn't
His
look
dick
female
was wearing
to
a
me.
potato sack.
But anyway, it doesn't mean
Can't be too careful.
Huddle.
Hey-oh.
Hey-oh.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm like, it could be anyone under that bag.
I saw a dead body where the dick was wearing a potato sack.
Jeez Louise. Did you notice right off the bat that Alice, the survivor girl from Part 1, now lives in the Myers house for some reason? Did you catch
I didn't even notice that.
The
No.
house she lives in has that same exact,
Okay.
2-story symmetrical kind of, I don't know, is that almost a colonial, but
It's like
white?
a Cape Cod, yeah.
Thin walls.
It's the same.
Thin walls.
Those thin-ass Pasadena
Those
walls.
Pasadena walls.
No, this is in Connecticut or New Jersey, so I imagine they've got some pretty sizable
Thick
insulation
walls.
in there. You guys know what I'm all about.
Yeah,
so.
we got thick walls in Jersey.
I actually did notice that. I did. No, not the walls.
What, that was
The
a Myers
fact that
house?
Yeah, it looked like a Myers
Okay.
house. Yeah, I noticed that. I thought it.
I thought it.
This one, Part 2, I love Part 2. It may be the shortest of all the Jason movies because after the flashback stuff, it's only like 65 minutes of actual new footage.
Right.
But it is so taut.
And a very strong heroine, too.
Excellent
she's
heroine. Wielding a
very strong
chainsaw at
character,
one
yeah.
point, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But, it moves at such a clip. There's not a second to breathe, right? This is your filet mignon, right? You've cut off everything you don't need, and it's just gore and violence and boobs. That's
And the
whole
guy
movie.
doesn't die either. I mean,
Or
technically.
does he?
Or does he?
Or does he?
But I mean, it's like, it's so trope that there's always a single female at the end and everybody dies. But at least here, you never really know if Jason kills Ted?
It doesn't matter what
Ted.
his name is
Yeah, I think it's Ted.
at this point.
Paul. I've got a note here that actually says, "Where's Paul?"
Paul, right.
We don't know
Okay.
where Paul is.
I don't know any of the characters' names.
Well, yeah, you got rid of the the cheat sheet.
Yeah. No, I usually keep the credits up on the TV screen while we're doing this so I can look and see what the characters' names were, because I always forget them. But this time you made me go to YouTube, so they're gone. But anyway, no, all the all the counselors' names,
And a shit ton of counselors.
they don't
at that.
matter.
Right.
They don't matter. They're just the victims of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Victim 1, victim
And they're
2.
going to be victims of there's going to be counselors of victims of the next movie, and then the next one, and the next one. I'm talking out my ass. I don't know what the next
You've
ones are
actually
gonna
got a good attitude about this. Some folks would say, "Oh, these characters are suddenly all one-dimensional, and each one only has one motivation and one outfit and one haircut, and that's the only way I can tell them apart." But that's the fun of the slasher movie
Yeah.
as it develops.
Well-
Like, you can detach yourself from the character development and just strap in for 90 minutes of hysteria.
It's kind of like watching like early 2000s reality television. Like it's a check the box of the kind of person that's in this house.
Yeah.
Like you have the slut and the nerd and the funny guy and the jock and the and you're trying to figure out, okay, which one's going to be the Jamie Lee Curtis character that's going to be the main person, and then you find out right away who they are, and then they develop them way more than everybody else. But there's just so many character check off, the boxes checked off on these movies. You know who's going to die. You're just like, all right, this one's going to be first.
We finally reached that part in the development of these movies that tropes are kind of the dominant thing now. We're not developing tropes. We are experiencing the tropes, which we've already developed.
We're just troping tropes.
Now, you mentioned you didn't know any of the characters' name, but I bet you knew Alice. She's the one dressed like Corduroy the bear. I don't know why she's dressed like Corduroy the bear.
No, I don't get who's Corduroy the bear. And
What kind of father are you that you don't read your child the Corduroy book with the little girl that finds that damaged toy at the toy store and then she takes it home and fixes it and it's her favorite toy?
No. Is that
Man,
like
I
a
have to
metaphor?
I have to put that on
Jason?
my Amazon wish list.
I mean, I wonder, that Corduroy's missing a button on his
Missing an eye.
overalls and
Yeah.
Jason's only got one eye. I mean, that we might be onto something, George.
Maybe that's like an Xbox thing.
And he's wearing overalls as well.
I mean, there you
Now,
go.
is he do the one off the shoulder, or does he have them both buckled?
What are you talking
By
about?
the end, I think he's got one
Jason.
off the shoulder. Hey.
Hey-o.
Hey, no. That's right, he does.
So you were
Takes
talking
one.
about how we know who's going to die, right? And it's pretty easy in this movie because these chicks are thirsty and these dudes are willing. But, George, when you find out that Jenny is our survivor girl, but she hooks up with Paul, like, at the very beginning of the movie, do you have a problem with the fact that your heroine had a little hanky-panky at the camp and survived?
Yeah, it kind of takes away from your theory that the person that survives is usually the one that doesn't take their clothes off.
Is this movie progressive? Have we reached a point where female sexuality can be embraced by a movie and not turn it into a death curse?
No.
It's 1980. Of course not. It's too early for that. So here's a joke that goes over everybody's heads the first 100 times they watch this movie. Did you catch what Paul had written on the mirror the morning after they hooked up?
Yes.
What did he write?
It was beware of the bears.
And remember,
something
right
like that.
before poor crazy Ralph gets killed out front, Jenny slows things down for a second and she says, "Paul, there's something I need to tell you." Cut to, remember back to 5 minutes earlier when Paul is telling all the counselors about the rules of the woods. You see,
Watch
one
the
of the
menstruation.
exactly. You may be joking, but you're actually right, Travis.
Yeah.
Watch your menstrual sanitation, ladies.
Mm-hmm.
So Jenny's on her period, so she doesn't get to have the sexy sex, and she gets to survive the movie. Thanks, misogynistic 80s movies.
She on the rag. She lives.
It's kind of gross by today's standards,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just a good joke. This movie is not against kind of clubbing you over the head with a silly joke now and then. The muffin transition, when Muffin the dog meets Jason and then cut straight to the hot dog on the grill. I mean, guys, Oscar Mayer.
Yeah.
That's a hot dog joke.
They set up they put a lot of time in setting you up to think that dog was dead.
That dog was dead, Travis.
Huh?
That's a dead ass dog.
No, I'm saying the dog at the very end. Isn't that the dog? Isn't that Muffin?
Did that really happen, Travis?
I don't know. I think the ending happened.
I don't know. There's two camps, two schools of thought in the Friday world, and that's either the ending is the reality, and the ending is obviously a dream because Muffin's already been eviscerated. So, the linchpin, the thing we need that we don't have, we need to know how many Shih Tzus per square acre live in Connecticut.
Right.
Because that one Shih Tzu was dead. But you and I both know Shih Tzus all look the same.
Yes.
And that is like cats, not like dogs. They are cats. They are good dancers, though.
Okay.
You remember that part where the guy danced with the...
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah, of course.
Guy's
yes.
such a creep.
Yeah, and the dog senses Jason out the window, and the guy thinks he's getting turned down by a dog. Yeah, it's great.
Creepo.
It's fantastic.
That guy shows up in so many slasher movies, and in real life, he seems like a real nice dude, but he plays a creep, like very believably.
It's like Kiefer Sutherland.
He's the guy that ended up getting hung upside down, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, what a creep. Hey, so while we're looking at the debut of Jason Voorhees, sometimes 1-0, usually 2, let's run down the Michael Myers checklist for designing a slasher villain. Because we got work clothes, check. We got regular sized dude, not a hulking Undertaker type figure, check. He kills and eats a dog. I mean,
check.
And he's all about like climbing on a car and reaching in. That whole fight with Jenny is straight out of the first scene of Halloween.
Yeah.
Really not reaching too far outside the Halloween playbook to design the guy.
And he's ashamed of what he looks like, so he wears a mask.
Is that why Michael wears the mask? Or does he just
like,
little anonymity in his stabby stabs?
He might have. That's true. Maybe he's got a little bit of the old identity crisis. I don't know.
Maybe we should ask Rob Zombie.
We should,
oh, my God.
Let's not. Let's leave Rob right where he's at. Okay.
Okay.
Do you guys like the... it's for our listeners, for our regular listeners, we love a map and a little bit of geography. Can we talk about the geography of this Crystal Lake where it's essentially everything connects via a crossroads at a puddle?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually really good, cheap filmmaking if you would just remember every shot to bring it back. Oh, we're at the puddle. Now we know where we're at.
Right.
You can connect whatever you want to that puddle.
Something they did not do in Halloween.
Yeah, I wish that the Halloween neighborhood had a puddle.
Oh man,
for reference, a reference puddle.
I started drawing out a map for that, and I it's gonna make you more angry, George. So
a map for what?
For Halloween.
Oh.
Why it took him 4 hours to get to the fucking house. Anyway,
Travis's detective work over here.
So angry about it. Anyway,
this movie, so many kills. The kill per minute count is really high compared to anything we've seen yet on the show. The gore. Do you notice anything about the gore that's a little different this time, George? Maybe compared to the first one?
Nothing jumped out at me.
Well, did you notice how they did a bunch
Jason.
of fades to white? Do you notice that kind of stuff yet?
Didn't really notice that.
Well, one thing that you'll notice upon later viewings, especially after you've seen some of the later ones of the series, a lot of the gore was trimmed heavily by the MPAA. This is the first time we've really talked about those guys. But after the success of Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th Part 1 essentially had one major cut to get an R rating. The MPAA was very generous with what it allowed. and the backlash that organization got after the fact because of how much violence is in that movie and what it inspired in other copycats kind of led to a pendulum swing with this one. A lot of cuts.
Okay.
A lot of stuff left on the editing floor. Unfortunately, being that this was a negative pickup like the first one, what that means, George, is that essentially they made it with private money and then didn't have a studio deal, even though the first one did so well. And then they brought it back to Paramount and were like, hey, we made money on the first one. Will you distribute this movie for us? So what that means for them, though, they have a lot of freedom, but they also maybe can act in a less professional manner than a mainstream film.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as everybody knows, there is no surviving 35 millimeter footage of the lost kills and all the trim stuff.
That's a shame.
But
sad.
Big news on the Friday the 13th front, and by the time everybody hears this, it'll be old news. There's a box set coming out October of 2020, which has a digitized version of VHS copies of the extended kills for the first time in 40 years.
Wow.
It's going to be amazing. Someone in the community had a VHS copy of the excise footage in their archive, and they've managed to digitize it and add it as an extra on the new disc. So
the kind that when I used to go to conventions, the guys would have like tables with VHSs of like lost footage and stuff.
yes,
So it's those guys. Okay.
but this was a guy within the industry, and this is the only known copy of that tape.
Okay.
So they managed to like reverse engineer and like bake the actual tape so that it would work again. Some crazy technical stuff to get it out there, but it'll be on the new disc along with a 4K scan, but a non-UHD disc.
We need 2 sound effects for that.
Yeah.
The 4K is like, and then the other thing is like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're all like not 4K.
Yeah.
I don't even have 2K over here.
Needless to say, I will be buying those movies again on UHD within probably 2 years. So take my money. It's fine. But I'm excited to see a better master of the first 4 movies because I've been watching the same master for 10 years. So, woo.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Plus, when you go back to the MPAA, you had the big battle because Savini is sitting there like Nicotero does with Walking Dead, where he's like, okay, how do I gross people out now? What am I going to do now that's going to just be completely disgusting? And then you have the MPAA's like, yeah, don't do any of that. So it's like he's putting machetes in the faces of handicapped people, and and they're rolling backwards, unassisted down a flight of steps. And it's like, yeah, that's totally inappropriate. And he's like, I don't care. The next scene is going to be this. And he just kept doing it and doing it. It's a shame that they cut it.
That untethered wheelchair down a hill is one of the most harrowing shots in any movie. Like
it's so sad.
You can't look away. It's so scary.
That was one of the kills in a Jason movie where you have no idea it's coming. Like, it's just...
I mean, George, tell us about watching that scene. Tell us about the kills. Tell us your favorites, what they did to you. Did that one get you? Did the jump scare make you stiffen up in your seat a little bit?
The guy in a wheelchair?
Yeah, man.
Not really. No, I kind of knew that was coming.
Well, I mean, they built it up with tension, but you didn't think he was going to take a machete to the face, like...
No, and then roll backwards
and
down
roll
the hill.
backwards
No,
down the hill.
I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think that. I mean, it was shocking when I saw it,
Yeah.
but it didn't scare. It didn't jump scare me.
It ranks up there with a sleeping bag that you'll see later.
Okay.
Did you get any jump scares out of this one, or was it all pretty much like? So what worked?
Yeah.
What worked?
In the very beginning, when the survivor from the first movie is going towards the window really slowly, and it's open and it's eerie and it's building suspense, and the cat jumps through.
Fucking cat.
The cat, man, the cat got the old Hitchcock trick. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I something's coming, but you're like, what? And I was like, and then it's a cat, and then I was like, okay, it was a cat.
Poor Alice, no longer in Wonderland, now in Ice Pick Land.
Nice pick.
Yeah. So the cat comes in, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's the jump scare. Now something's gonna happen because I've been lulled into like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm like, and that's when he gets you. And that kill was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Just wait till you see it uncut. Woo.
And very, very unexplained. Like they never really touch on
Doesn't
how
matter.
Jason found her. How he, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
technically, it's important to know because most of his kills happen in Crystal Lake. So it's like they never really explain how he tracked her down to her apartment wherever she is. Like it just happens and then they move on.
Yeah.
But most of the kills that he does happens in the camp because he's
Mhm.
kind of the haunting entity of the camp, and you're pretty much safe. Well, until later, but you're pretty much safe at Crystal if you're not at Crystal Lake. So it just never explained how he found her. That's all.
It's a really interesting thing because it completely violates the rule that they use for a lot of the movies, which is, the locals know he's there, but they don't mess
Mhm.
with him and he doesn't mess with them.
Right. It's like King Kong. He's behind the wall. As long as we feed him a blonde every once in a while, he's not going to break through that wall.
But the nice thing is, I guess you could attribute it to revenge, right? Like this was his personal just vendetta, right? And then back to the old don't mess with the locals and they won't mess with me
Right.
kind of thing.
I'll take it.
So I liked that kill a lot.
Did you like the head in the fridge?
Yeah, I don't know. I could have done without the head in the fridge. That didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was that she got the ice pick in the temple, which was what her plan was for him.
Well, what I can tell you is the head in the fridge is a visual reference to, stick with me here, guys, a giallo. But this one is called Giallo a Venezia, a giallo in Venice. And let's just say you're not ready for that movie yet, George.
Okay.
But when you are ready, oh goodness,
It's gonna be head in the fridge time.
that's like a Mount Rushmore effed up movie. It's okay.
How they do it in Italy.
Sounds good.
Dude, the Italians rejected that when it was too effed up.
We got to figure out some kind of Giallo T-shirt for you.
Just yellow
This-
T-shirt, like a
this
blank
movie
yellow
was
T-shirt.
better when it was Giallo.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I'm wearing a Jell-O t-shirt right now. What's up?
It's just a yellow shirt with a motorcycle
your,
helmet.
Your
on it.
movie's cute. It was better as a Giallo.
Oh, man. I watched a little bit of Death Carries a Cane the other day, and the guy with the black trench coat and the fedora shows up, and all I could think about was George being like, I don't know, it's not the best. Not branded. Not branded enough. That was Travis, I think. Was
No,
Yeah,
that's
I was
Travis.
the branded guy.
Which actually, I mean, that was a hell of a point. But
Yeah.
also, like, nothing wrong with a little generic killer now and then.
No, not at all. It's funny. I was in a Halloween store and I saw one of those white, I guess Phantom of the Opera type masks. The blank face kind of blue man group kind of mask. And I'm like, this is what Michael Myers would have looked like in a Giallo. Just that little plastic white emotionless face. Like a mime.
It's like you're talking about like a little mask like to go to like a mask ball
Yeah,
or something.
like a masquerade mask. Like
Yeah.
what the mimes wear. I'm just looking at him like this would have been their version of Michael Myers. He would have had this mask on. So
we
you
should
got me
do
thinking that
We
stuff
should do
now. A Giallo version of
a
Halloween?
slasher. No, check it out. A slasher that takes place in 2020, and you can't tell who the slasher is because everyone's wearing a mask.
Ooh.
Heyo.
But you can
So-
tell because nobody can leave their house.
Yeah, right, because it's all COVID.
Stupid COVID.
We can call it 2020.
All right, well, maybe that's not such a good idea.
Yeah.
The other kill that I kind of laughed at a little bit, which was what I think was supposed to be the Kevin Bacon kill of this movie, was the crazy old man.
Oh.
The bar. Yeah, how fucking tall is Jason? he throws that wire over crazy. What's his name?
Crazy Ralph.
Ralph over his neck and pulls up, and Ralph is standing. So Jason's like 10'3" in that scene.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't know.
It's not the
good
last
stuff.
time we're going to see Jason reach over a tree. So
Right.
just kind of get used to that.
But what made me laugh was like it was his face while he was getting killed, and also the fact that like he was even there.
Yeah, what's he doing there?
Right?
Well, I think what they were doing was the first movie they kind of set him up to possibly be the killer, and then here they're saying no, it's Jason. Like, let's get rid of all the others, and we're just gonna concentrate on Jason. So we're just gonna cut out Ralph.
He's
gone.
like,
Is that why they
he's
did that?
tying up the loose
I don't know.
ends so that you
Yeah,
know
tie-
for sure
tying up
it's
loose ends.
his crown. He's not competing for anybody else.
Yeah, we'll take it. I don't know.
But what I was thinking was if only someone would have told him, what grave danger he was in,
Oh,
maybe.
if only there were a slightly
Like,
crazier Ralph.
His
Yeah.
brother, Crazy
That's
Bob.
why I laughed. I was like, if only someone would have warned him, you know.
Oh, that's great.
But
You're
anyway,
still doomed. That would have been hilarious if they had an older, crazier person saying to him, "You're doomed," and then he bites it.
it's for the fan movie.
I sent you guys a link to the killer from Blood and Black Lace. I think you and Travis just described this character, is why I'm sending it to you.
Oh,
Blank white face.
Is that Rorschach? It looks like the from Watchmen.
Yeah, it's about 20 years before Rorschach.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, Blood and Black Lace is a fantastic movie. I mean, it's not just a good giallo. It
Right.
is, my wife liked it the first time she watched it. I didn't have to, make her watch it 5 times and see all the cool little details. No, it's just a watchable flick.
Okay.
Pretty scary. It's on Prime.
He looks like a Dick Tracy villain. I like it.
Dig it. Would you guys believe that there's an Umberto Lindsay reference in this movie?
absolutely.
So,
There has to be.
the skinny dipper that throws her towel onto the camera,
Yep.
straight out of Orgasmo, one of the early Lindsays.
Okay.
Yeah, or everyone's seen that.
Hey, it's a good one. It's called
I'm
Orgasmo.
watching it right now.
It's Carol Baker's first foray into the Italian market. If you guys have seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, have you watched that yet, George?
Not yet. I want to though.
It's recent. Yeah.
It is an excellent companion piece to Orgasmo. They both take place. But Orgasmo was actually made in 1969, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood takes place in 1969. And one of the plot threads in Once Upon a Time is that he's considering going to Italy to rejuvenate his career. And Carol Baker, American actress, went to Italy and rejuvenated her career in 1969. So Tarantino's one of us. He's he knows his Italian stuff.
Yes.
He just puts it a little bit more on Front Street when he's borrowing.
You mean he's one of you? Because I've never seen any of these movies.
Yeah, no,
I suck.
I'm excluding you two. I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
definitely.
like, my folks.
One of you.
Hey, did you notice
I
the
wanna be.
Jamie Lee Curtis quality scream though from the Skinny Dipper?
Oh yeah.
She auditioned that stuff, man. They knew,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the only reason she was cast.
Are we talking about the half shirt chick?
Yeah, that scream. Only thing that got her into this movie was that scream.
Yeah.
It was
and
an
that
excellent
body.
scream. Just they were like, hey, we're not, it was like The
Yeah.
Voice. They were just like, hey, we're just
Yeah.
gonna. Can you do
Can
the
you
scream?
scream? And what do you look like
And
naked?
can you throw a towel at the camera? That's all we ask.
Can you throw
No
a towel?
other qualifications, just the scream and the towel throw. George the Telecaster.
So
What-
you would say she was like a 4-chair turn, then?
I've never actually watched The Voice. Is that what they do?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Who's got time for TV? I got Jolly to watch.
They referenced Giallo last week on there.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn it. I'm going to have to catch up.
The feathers of the golden cage or something like that.
No wait, hold on.
Wait,
it's,
was it the
no,
pheasant, golden
stop.
pheasant?
Hold on. No. I know this movie. Shit. What is it called?
The crimson gold.
It's something about lace,
Yeah.
right?
Lace of the pigeon feathers.
It's, fuck.
He's laughing because he knows. We have no idea. He knows what we're referencing, but we're just going to keep.
No, it's
Butchering
about a
it.
bird.
I'm still
Yeah.
trying to figure out
It's
if you're
it's-
making fun of me or not.
No, we're
No,
not. We're
no.
making fun of ourselves.
I'm literally really trying to.
Yeah,
To
you're
remember
thinking of the bird
name
with
of
the
this-
crystal plumage.
Yes, that's
Crystal
the one.
plumage.
Yes.
That is
And
the bird. It's
Golden
the,
pheasant.
Yeah, it's the Halloween of Jalo, kind of.
It's the pre-bird,
Yes,
post-bird.
exactly.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
epochal, or however you say that word. Epochal? Epochal?
Epochal.
It's epical.
Epoch. Cal?
It's a
Epochal.
How do you think that cop from Friday Part 2 would say it? Because how do you say reprimand? You're not even going to reprimand? It's like he'd never heard the word before.
You're not even going to reprimand him?
Right. He
I
just
loved
read it in the
his
script. and he's
his
like,
read was so strong, and now I can't remember exactly what he did because it was so wrong from how you say the word
That's funny.
reprimand.
I love the sarcasm though
mm.
in that scene.
Oh, hey, Ginny.
Yeah, make
Can
sure
you,
they don't get seconds on dessert tonight.
So good.
It's
That's up
like-
there with like Willy Wonka, where he's like, "Oh, please don't." stop."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George,
No,
George,
stop.
no,
don't.
George,
stop,
George,
don't.
I need to hear about your Telecaster appreciation from right after
Oh, that was
the-
beautiful.
I mean, that's a
It ma-
that's a pretty telly.
now I don't own a Telecaster.
What,
I should.
dude?
That was a beautiful guitar. It was kind of upsetting though. Because I was like, okay, well, he's obviously not the one playing the lead. Because like his hands aren't doing that sound. So what's he? Okay, that's fine. Where's the other guy? Where's the guy playing the lead? Oh, he was supposed to be playing the lead. Okay, well,
I have a
that was
feeling he
poor
was
acting.
playing something pretty awesome. His technique looked good. He was hitting. His rhythm was on with the rest of the band. I just have a feeling they couldn't clear whatever they were playing, or the
He
recording
looked-
quality was poor, and they wanted to jazz it up a bit.
he looked like he was playing some kind of funky, rhythmic thing, or I don't know, maybe like a Crossroads type of riff, something like that.
Kind of a country funk.
It didn't look like what it sounded like.
Is that a funk tree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the guitar was beautiful,
Oh man, I have
and
one.
the shot was beautiful too, of the bridge of the Telecaster. You just you can see the screws
You
around
could
the
tell
bridge
that the
pickup. It's like,
cinematographer respects the guitar. Like, of all the
Yeah.
movies
Like
we've
a-
watched so far, that guy knew how to shoot a guitar.
Yeah.
That's not an easy skill, as YouTube has showed us.
it was like shiny, like it had it had sweat on it, and
It looked like the guitar itself was a little sweaty. Like, it
yeah.
did a couple of curls before the take, so it'd look a little
Mhm.
shiny.
Yep. Yep.
It's just like guitar porn.
That shot is. I mean, that's.
Seriously.
This is my Facebook
Yeah,
feed
he's like-
basically.
He's like, "Did you see the sweat on the
is,
guitar?"
is the guitars that look like
so
this.
fucking hot. Oh yeah, I do me so fucking hard. It rubs the lotion on the guitar. It does this whenever it's told her it gets the hose again.
I can't breathe.
Oh.
All right, I'm good.
Oh my.
I'm
jeez.
back.
Ah.
Holy.
So they
so
cut
hard.
from the first part of the skinny dipping scene back to Packanack
Yeah, let's talk about the
Lodge.
naked chick and not the guitars that are naked.
I don't know, man. It's 2020.
Actually, the guitar,
Hotter than the girl?
when you get to a certain age,
Sorry, I'm always gonna take the girl over the guitar.
you
I'm
know.
sorry.
Anyways,
Join us next season for the remedial guitar class with
Yeah, right.
Travis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
music class. What is
So-
this? A Strat?
It's just gonna be Dan talking about Warren
Yeah.
Zevon for 3 hours.
Don't it make you want to rock and roll all night
He's like-
long?
This is a Bob Dylan song.
Yeah, and Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan.
Yeah, Bob Dylan did it better, but whatever. We can credit the guy that ripped him off in the 70s, but he was doing it better in the 60s. What's up?
Word.
Hey, so the skinny
Where the
dipping
hell
scene,
were we? All right.
The
Yeah.
skinny
That's what we're
dipping
talking
scene's
about. Skinny
happening.
dipping scene, yeah.
She gets in the water, and it's like the most leering shot in the movie, and it's not from Jason as far as I can tell. It's just like the camera's just like leering at this woman, and then one of those hilarious Steve Miner cuts, the director, directly to the judgiest looking taxidermy buck I've ever seen. Did you catch that? It's like she gets in the water and the camera, not you, but well, I mean probably Travis, but the camera's staring at this woman who's skinny dipping and she thinks she's alone. Cut to the buck just being like, "What do you think you're doing?"
Oh, hello.
I did notice that.
He's like Sven from Frozen. Hey. Ugh, fucking deer.
But, you get a little callback to Psycho. You get your taxidermy.
Yes.
But also you get a judgy buck, which...
Now, was she being watched by one of the other counselors?
She ends
maybe?
up watched by the creepy guy, the dog
Yeah.
dancer guy. But I'm not sure if the camera is
hurt my
meant to
dog.
be... Oh,
Another
jeez.
throwback to Psycho was Alice
Right.
in the shower.
Yes.
That's true. She did.
In
And
the
a little
beginning.
callback to Alien, too, because of the whole cat thing. There was a lot of cat suspense. Like, that's in the 70s.
Cat suspense.
Yeah, like they would use animals to kind of draw you in. And then, like you said, the jump scare happens, and then the real scare happens.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like in Alien, they did that with Jonesy, with Sigourney Weaver's cat.
Spoiler alert.
Well, not really. You saw it.
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah. Okay. We won't be covering Alien unless you want to.
That
But-
is an
Yeah.
old...
I'll probably watch in my spare time.
That is a
It's an old thing.
classic Hitchcock trick. And
Yeah,
the
it's a bait
cat...
and switch.
The cat is his method as well. In this movie, though, I have a feeling in the second half of this episode, we'll talk pretty at length about where that cat comes from. Stupid
Okay.
cat. I do have a question for you, George, Travis. What is Mark training for?
The Olympics.
Paralympics. I
Because
don't know.
he says he's in training, and that's why he can't go drinking. And then he says he's in training, and that's why he can't smoke dope, which, that's cool.
Right.
But then even the thirsty chick was like, wait, what are you training for? And he never answers her.
Well, that's because he had a machete in his face,
Do
right?
you think he's like headed to the priesthood or something and just hasn't fessed up to it yet?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Well, not
I
anymore.
don't know. He
Yeah.
seems pretty down to, he seems pretty DTF.
I don't know, man.
So
Maybe
I don't think priesthood.
maybe he was heading over to her cabin to, study the good word.
Maybe.
Hmm.
Hey now.
Hey-o.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you what he was training for. He did say that he was trying to get his legs back, though.
I mean, he still
the
had
doctor
his
says.
legs. but-
Physical training, maybe.
Yeah, like he was like, the doctor says I'll never get
Yeah.
my use of my legs again, but
Yeah. So maybe it's
I
either
think I will. so.
like physical training, or possibly not Special Olympics. What, like, did you say the Paralympics?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't know.
that.
This movie would have loved a 10-minute straight up just Paralympic basketball game, just stuck in the middle.
Like Top Gun.
Well, I
They're
was
all
thinking like sleepaway
shirtless.
camp and the 10-minute baseball scene. Like, sure, let's do. Or is that The Burning? They all run together at this point.
Or like in Wayne's World, where they just play hockey for no reason.
Car.
Actually, Clerks, they kind of played
Game
on the
on.
roof,
Game
right?
on.
Game on.
I'm trying to think of like the closest Olympic sport to rolling down a flight of steps, but I can't think of
Backwards
anything.
with a knife in your head.
Yeah. Can't think of it.
Reverse luge. Cabin luge.
Yeah, little did
Staring.
Jason know that he actually walked right into Mark's trap.
He didn't know he just put a machete in Michael Phelps' head.
Oh, shit.
Shit. Maybe he's a
Oh, man.
swimmer. I don't know.
Just in time
He
for the
could be a swimmer.
1980 Olympics, man. We've got enough
Well, they do-
controversy without a machete face.
They do. I don't know. There seems to be a reason for a lot of the dialogue. Like, it's not pointless. Like, I know earlier in the movie, Paul and Ginny talk about her background in psychology, which comes up huge when she's got this 7-year-old Hulk in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
Her child psychiatry background comes in play. So that throwaway line an hour ago becomes very prominent.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that training line means something. And it's not just... It has to mean something.
Could it be something that got cut later?
I don't know.
It's just it bugs me so much because so much of this movie is very tight. There are no loose ends except where's Paul?
Where's
And
Paul?
What the hell is Mark training for? I mean, I can
Right.
assume it's the legs thing, but I hate to assume. Did anybody
So
else
it's gotta
get
be
warm
Jason.
fuzzies when they saw the Packanack Lodge or Jason's shack?
when I saw that, when I see his shack, it reminds me of the forts we used to build in the woods. Like, just no matter what wood we can find, it was just like a hodgepodge of material to make a shack or a shed or a fort that we would make in the woods.
Toss a
That's
couple
exactly
dead
what it looked
bodies
like.
up top to really like
Yeah.
structurally secure the thing. If I understand
didn't
where
have
you're
that.
from. Yeah.
No, we didn't
so
have
many
that.
bodies.
Right. Only one.
Made a hell of a coat rack though.
Yes.
But no, when I get you guys finally to play the Friday the 13th game, you spend a lot of time running away from the Packanack Lodge, and you're always trying to find Jason's shack so you can put on the sweater and dupe him into thinking you're his mom for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys are
Nice.
going to like that game.
I'd like to play it.
Once we get to like part 7, I think after that I'm going to make you guys play it. Hopefully by then it'll go on sale and you can get it for like $5.
We'll have enough knowledge to be able to play through.
Well, you'll know
Oh,
that.
I would just buy it. I would buy it
I want to
at
try it.
regular game price.
Hmm.
But I want to play it though online with you.
Oh yeah, no, we'll get you in. We'll do that, and
Yeah.
if we can think of a clever way to make it content, I would be totally happy to do that.
Maybe we
'cause-
can stream it.
Oh shoot, get on Twitch.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
we can stream that shit.
Well, there you go.
There's just so much lore and fun when it comes to Jason that a game like that is up my alley. Definitely.
I'm warning you. I'm terrible at video games, but
So am I.
No judgment. Just make sure you're not like anywhere in my vicinity when we're playing together, so you don't get me killed, because that would annoy me
okay.
Right.
a little
And
bit.
don't lay under the bed and piss, because that's not good.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Apparently, rats make you piss.
I mean, she didn't scream. She was able to stifle the scream.
Yeah, but she pissed.
I
That's- that-
mean,
And she
And how
pissed
did-
a lot too.
And how did Jason hear? Like, he was out. He was gone. And her peeing made him turn around. That's some loud pee.
Also, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
And I kind of like the look of the sack with the one eye. I like that. I do. I think it's very menacing.
I don't
Yeah,
disagree.
It looks good.
It seems like this
Yeah.
would be a good point to reemphasize that this movie was made without studio involvement. Like,
Okay.
Paramount gets a pass on this one because they weren't there when they filmed the peeing.
I think. Oh yeah. I was gonna say I think Travis is serious about the mask.
No, I am.
Yeah.
Oh no,
I
the mask is cool. It's pretty menacing.
And his makeup, like at the end when he breaks through and he's not wearing a sack anymore, that's probably one of the best Jason faces that you're gonna see.
Does George know we get a different Jason face every time?
I don't know.
Because
No, I didn't know that.
continuity isn't really a strong suit of the '80s movies. So buckle up, Buttercup. You're gonna get a different Jason every time.
It's like Myers masks. Every time you just never know if they're gonna do it right.
60% of the time,
They-
it works every time.
No, it's 90% of the time it looks like a big fat bulby faced Michael Myers. It's very sad.
Yeah. No, but I do have to say every Jason face, minus maybe 2 of them, I've liked.
I know
But
the two you're referring to.
Yeah, but realistically, looking at I know you can't even say the word anymore, but like that type,
I'm bleeping
You
that
know.
shit. What?
are you? Well, whatever they
What
call
is
it
that?
back, they even called it that back then.
What is that?
Well, it's
word
like
mean? What does that
like a
word even
deformity,
mean?
like a birth defect, deformity.
Yeah, I
to
was
the
gonna
face.
I was gonna ask, did Jason always look like that, or was that something that happened as a result of like the accident where he drowned? Was he always?
I think he always looked like that.
Okay, and that's why his mother said he should be watched. Like he had to
Yes.
be, like
Well, they show him drowning in the flashbacks of the first movie, and he has that offset eye and the kind of side, almost like
okay, I guess I missed that.
yeah, they kind of show him that way as an 11-year-old boy.
Okay,
And usually that's something you're born with. It's
Right.
It's like a
yeah, well
a birth
that
defect.
that
right?
answers that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when he's an adult at the end of that movie, and you see like, to me, that's as realistic as I think it would probably look. I just love that design. Definitely.
Remind me of the Goonies.
Yes, but he's kind of like a parody of what that would look like. The sloth character in Goonies, yeah. The Jason at the end of this movie is almost like a realistic, like they almost went and did scientific study of what it would look like. Because it looks really good.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys.
Can we talk about, I think, the most pressing issue in this movie? And we've danced around it a couple of times, but we really need to hit this right on the head. I think we've got a jurisdictional conflict with regards to law enforcement in the Camp Crystal Lake area, and it's really, I think it's contributing to an unsafe environment for residents and also visitors.
Yeah.
No, but really, I'll show you why I think that the cop in this movie looks the way he does. Well, let me just run down a quick list of things that I noticed about the cop today. According to his car, he's a member of the state police.
Okay.
But his badge is a county sheriff's badge. And his shirt is definitely not an official uniform shirt. He just bought that at Walmart and put it on with
So you
blue
think
jeans.
he's an imposter?
Well, then, his collar has a PD pin on each side.
Right, so that's local police
But
department.
that's local
right?
police department. That's not state. That's not county. But then his arm patch, guys, are you ready for this? His arm patch identifies him as a member of the Sebastopol Police, a city from Northern California.
Right. So they must have got it at a thrift store. I thought you were going to say the arm patch said, like, Haddonfield Memorial Security.
That would have been amazing. No.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like his stripes. You were gonna say he was like a major or something,
I
or
just, like,
captain or something.
Push the glasses up to the bridge of my nose. Well, guys, you see, he is a desk sergeant. He should not be outside of the precinct.
Exactly.
Right.
But for real, the last movie, part one, you've got a regular blue shirt city cop out on his motorcycle. Okay, local cop outside of the edge of the jurisdiction. Okay, maybe. But this guy,
He's way out there. He's way out there.
I don't know that we had a great law enforcement advisor working on part two. And I think it makes us all less safe.
Yeah, and that kind of goes throughout the entire I don't want to say trilogy, I guess series. It's almost like the police are Keystone Cops sometimes. Like they're not, almost like they're trying to cover up everything because of the black eye that Jason is on the town, on the city. Like they're not ever helpful until you get like later in the movies. Ever helpful.
There's real fertile ground if they were ever to like reboot the series and try again, but maybe make it all, connect and make sense as an actual movie instead of just a fun romp.
Right.
For the police putting up with its situation. I think you could get some good mileage out of that.
Right.
But I don't think that this guy's going to pass muster. He's not going to cut mustard either.
I was like, something's coming. It was like the cat.
You have to
There's a
shake
cat
the
walking
bottle a
around.
little bit to get it to come out. So took me a minute.
Tap the 50. You got to tap the 57.
So George, we did it. We threw you into the deep end with maybe my favorite sequel to any slasher movie. It might be one of my top 5 favorite slasher movies too. I mean, it's real.
It's definitely better than the first one.
It's lean and mean, man.
I don't know about that.
No?
I think I like the first one better.
Okay. I guess because I'm a fan of Jason, that to me it's special because it's his first appearance.
I think by the time we get George up to like part 4 and 5 and 6, if he goes back and watches 2 again, he's going to see all the things he's grown to love about our favorite slasher from the woods. And then he'll understand why we're so keen on it.
Between 1 and 2, they're different movies.
Yes,
like
they're
very
definitely
different. Just because I said, I liked 1 better, it's just, I don't know. 2 seemed more straightforward. 1 was really,
Well, it was a twist.
It was really mysterious.
Yeah.
So I like that. But 2 was good. It was a romp. I liked it.
For me, it's more of a selfish reason. I think the heroine in the second one is way more.
You keep saying heroin, and I keep thinking of the drug.
Of the drug.
Yeah.
The
the heroin was good, but did you try the LSD?
Did you try the LSD?
Survivor Girl.
Ginny, the survivor girl. Ginny is a way more developed, likable character. I felt Alice was over the top theater actor kind of.
I agree.
What about the boy in the lake?
She was more likable too.
Yeah, she was likable, but I think Ginny was more of a Ripley type character.
No. I mean, Jenny was more likable.
Jenny was more likable. Yeah, and I think that she had many layers that they never really explored, and I think I would like to see a sequel, or maybe a prequel to kind of see where she came from and what she's all about, because I think there's more to her than they show you in that movie. And you'll find that every movie kind of gives you special characters where you'll have a liking towards more. The more you watch, you'll be like, oh man, that's a really good character. That's a really cool.
You know what
character.
just popped into my mind? Okay, check it out. There's 2 chainsaw references in this movie, right? One is the actual chainsaw, right? She turns the chainsaw
that they keep in the
on
kitchen
him.
for some reason.
Yeah, whatever.
It's a kitchen chainsaw. Come on, Travis. Catch up.
If you have to cut like a really big ham,
Yes,
you
for
just use that.
barbecuing. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So that was number 1. Number 2, the guy in the wheelchair getting the hatchet in the face is what you wanted to happen.
Yes.
To the guy in the wheelchair and chainsaw.
Definitely.
That's an excellent point.
This movie gives you the satisfaction that Chainsaw didn't give you.
Yes.
I don't know, man. Wheelchair guy and chainsaw gets effed up pretty good, though.
Yeah, but you don't see it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but it's not hatchet in the
it's not
face,
hatchet in
rolls
the
down the
face.
steps,
Yeah.
though.
That's true. He didn't go rolling down the steps in a reverse luge.
Well, he did in the beginning of the movie, but it had nothing to do with being killed. It was just him going down the hill.
And he peed on himself, too, just like Jenny.
Yeah.
It's like we're going down a Texas Chainsaw checklist. Texas chainless massive
Car. Massive car.
Massive van.
Massive van. I would love some really, really good director to come along and maybe a screenwriter to tie those movies together.
Chainsaw and Friday the 13th?
Yeah, to kind of put them in the same universe. I don't know.
Oh my God. If you set that movie that you're talking about in 2020, Leatherface and Jason would be in a lot of the same Facebook groups and would probably be like messaging on the side. Like, yeah, dog, I get you.
I hate these people.
I can't believe that guy posted that either. We should go to his house and chainsaw him. Oh, I forgot. Neither one of us can drive. I guess we'll have to stay local. Emoji.
I mean, they tied Jason and Freddy together really well. I wonder if they would be able to tie Leatherface, that whole Sawyer family into the universe of Jason and the Voorhees. Like maybe even tie the Voorhees family with the Sawyer family. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool.
You know what's funny? Dan.
What's funny, George?
You just described our friendship.
I know. No, that was intentional.
Seriously, no, like we met on like a guitar Facebook group.
And
started
you instant messaging. Yeah.
So many sweaty
good.
guitars and so much
Sweaty.
magic pixie dust in those pedals.
Topless guitars.
So much mojo.
Dude,
you can see the bolts.
We sent so many like open guts pics of pedals to each other for about 3 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Dude,
so hot.
check out the solder work on this one. I think it's going to sound awesome. Oh, it's broken. I bought a broken pedal again. Damn it.
You think this pedal would fuck me? It fucked me so hard.
It's all about the
Sorry.
mojo, man. It's
I
that
just
mojo.
keep hearing him in my head when you guys talk about guitars.
There's a lust element to guitars. I'm not going to lie. I mean, that sweaty guitar did things to me. I mean,
I did things to me. Travis's mic
Fucking mic
stand needs a
stand.
blue pill.
I had that happen at a gig one time. I was using
It's
like a
generic.
I showed up to this bar and the guy's like, "Here's your mic stand," and it's all like held together with duct tape and shit. And I mean, literally, probably because it was a gross bar. And as I'm playing the first song, the boom just goes blue, and it's like pointed at my knee. So I look at the audience without missing a beat. I was so proud of myself. I pick the thing back up and I go, "Oh my god, this has never happened to me before."
Never happened.
Nobody
I took
laughed.
the red pill. I
Those
took the red pill.
assholes.
Oh
It's
shit!
the best joke I ever told.
It happens. It happens to
Completely
all
off
of us.
off the cuff, and they didn't even
Not
laugh.
me, man. Not me. I still dig my
Oh
wife.
man.
I'm gonna need 25 to 30 minutes, and then I'm good to go for like a 4-hour set. What's up?
It's still doing it. It's still.
Is it slowly?
It's creeping down so.
Oh my
slow.
God.
It keeps doing
It's
it.
like it's like it's like glacier movements. It's ridiculous.
God, you
like after like 15 minutes,
is this
It's like watching the
Travis is.
it's like watching the moon move. It's like
Travis is using a microphone stand.
yeah.
Dude, give it 15 minutes.
Yep,
Like
it's gonna be at my chest again.
Travis's chin.
That microphone
Travis's
stand.
chin is.
It's in training. It's getting there. The doctor says it'll never work again. but-
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting like a body scan by this fucking thing. It's starting very slow in my forehead and going down to my nuts. And it's like taking forever. It's like the longest scan ever.
It's like the you know how like you boil a frog, you know, you just
Yeah.
throw them in the water and
he
then you
just
like
sits there and boils.
slowly bring up the heat. That's what
Mhm.
it's doing to you.
That's what's done.
It's lulled you into this false sense of security. Like I'm not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, 'cause
And then
right now it doesn't look
like
like it's moving, but I know it is.
it starts to creep. And then, dude, like after 15 minutes, Travis's chin is in his neck.
Which it normally is anyway.
Because the microphone's like down. Oh shit! Holy crap!
I was waiting for you to say something. I'm like, he's just gonna let me do this. I got my head tilted. I'm like, and then.
Jeez Louise.
We did say this was going to be an unorthodox episode, right?
Guys,
We
I
did
haven't
say
laughed
that.
this hard in a long time.
We're like, we're giving the people their bonus 14th episode.
Oh, you
It's
said
going to be a bunch
bonus,
of
but we
bullshit.
know the
he
truth.
said bonus. The blue pill.
Holy
Jeez.
shit! Okay, we're back.
I'll tell you
All
back to the thing we're actually supposed to be talking about tonight. Friday the 13th Part 2. I don't know if you remember, but a while back we were talking about Friday the 13th Part 2. Let's
Yeah.
bring it back real quick.
Got it.
So guys, a question for you. Did we just watch the debut of Jason Voorhees? Or did we just watch some rando in a sack mask kill a bunch of people?
It's a great question.
I mean, nobody checked his
Yes.
ID.
Right.
This might have been like Pamela's little, like, on the side lover boy, little angry at the murder of his love. She might
Right.
have had a second kid. This might be Mason Voorhees. Javier
Ethan.
Voorhees. I don't know.
He's
Ethan
he's
Voorhees.
definitely a Chad. Chad Voorhees.
You haven't played the game yet, but you'll understand why I'm laughing on the inside, Travis.
Right. Okay.
The Chad. The Chad is the true hero. Love
Okay.
Chad. Pour one out for Chad. Chad's a dick.
Chad. What a dick.
But here's the thing. You could potentially read the ending, the confrontation in the shack of the person we assume to be Jason. Imagine, if you will, 35-year-old man, wears a sack on his head, lives in the woods, poops in a shack, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Keeps a severed head of someone important to him, but not necessarily his mother. Surrounded by bodies of people he's killed, including Alice. Did you catch Alice is on the ground all rotted up with an ice pick in her head still?
No.
Yeah, she's there. Go back and look. It's pretty cool. Anyway,
Take that home.
so you're this guy. You don't get a lot of visitors since they killed your Pamela, whatever she was to you. And one day you get back to your shack, and some crazy lady puts on a moldy-ass sweater and starts pretending she's your mom. Wouldn't you be a little shocked? You might even turn your head and go, what the hell is this lady thinking? I'm just saying it doesn't have to be Jason in that mask.
Right.
Would you get on your knees though?
I mean,
Didn't he submit?
you know,
He kind of submitted
depending
to
on
her,
his
didn't he?
relationship with Pamela, that might be the response.
I like where you're going, but I can't really see.
I mean, it's Jason. Let's just. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
I
just.
can't
Yeah,
really
it's
see
Jason.
why
But
she would
like,
have a
you could
relationship
make a
with him.
compelling argument that this was
Yeah.
never Jason. That Jason drowned in the lake, and this is somebody
Right.
else related to the situation.
An opportunist.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody who just wants those pesky kids to get off his lawn, so he's gonna keep a folklore like this legend alive.
Well, and that's the thing with the quality of law enforcement in the Crystal Lake area. Any killing of this sort is going to get blamed on Jason, whether it was him or
Mhm.
not.
Yeah.
I mean, we're playing to the narrative at that point, not exploring the actual narrative. I'm just trying to come up with a reason why maybe the continuity of the faces and body styles gets so wonky here pretty quick.
Right.
Because
right.
it's not actually the same dude. They just keep blaming every mass murder on
Like
Jason rather than
copycats.
looking at their own like education system and, economy.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we're going to do a little something different now, guys. We are going to switch gears, and I am going to pull the curtain back a little bit on how we got from deformed demon child who's still for some reason 8 years old popping out of the lake to 2 months later a full-grown man in a sack mask
Okay.
finding his way to our friend Alice. So, listeners, feel free to watch along with us. I'm going to throw some timestamps out. We're going to watch these movies in the easiest available form. The Town That Dreaded Sundown, Amazon Prime listed as 1977. It's actually 1976. We're going to watch that one first. So, George, hit that Amazon Prime and let's watch The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
The Town That Dreaded Sundown, 1977
Oh,
Prime.
I see a sack.
I also do, yes.
Are you guys
Okay,
checking out that
watch.
guy's sack?
Yep. Yep.
Oh yeah, it's sweaty.
Now, keep in mind, this movie actually predates Halloween as well. So that's kind of fun. And this movie's based on a true story. And the true stories are, it's a riveting tale if you ever have time for an actual nonfiction book.
Okay, give me a timestamp.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead and, George, we're going to start here at the 0 mark, and we're going to watch the first 6 minutes. So, listeners, feel free to pause the podcast, watch the first 6 minutes of The Town That Dreaded Sundown, and then come right back, and we'll talk about what we saw. In the first, we're 2 minutes in, and I know exactly where we are. Like, this movie's done an excellent job. Oh, shit. Hey, look at that. Remember how we met Jason at the beginning of part 2?
Yeah. Yep. It's exactly how he walked on screen. Got a bit of a swag.
He does. He's out there. He's letting it swing a little bit. But for real, this shot, they're like,
Yeah.
hey, how are we going to introduce this killer guy? Well, I don't know.
The same way they did 4 years ago.
Let's remember that guy we ripped off the way he looks. Let's just steal that scene
Yeah.
too. Can I just say I'm happy to live in a time where I never had to park a car in the middle of the woods
And pretend you're yawning to put your arm around
try
somebody.
to convince a girl that maybe we should smooch and stuff. What
God,
an uncomfortable time.
what's he doing?
He just went for it, man. He's just laying in that lap. She's not buying that move though.
No. This is like if Disney would have done a slasher film.
Dude, it's not gonna stay like that. This movie's pretty cray. I found this originally. It was on my Blockbuster shelf, and for years I never rented it.
I remember seeing the cover on the wall at the video store, and I always thought it was a ripoff of Friday 13th.
Yeah, I just never. I knew it was there. I always want. It's a compelling cover, but I never wanted to rent it. And then years later, I found a pirated copy of a VHS rip, and it was just
Right.
oh my god, I finally get to watch this movie. And no lie, 6 months later, they put it out on Blu-ray out of nowhere.
Wow.
So now I have the Blu-ray, and it's wonderful. They don't play around in this movie, though. I mean,
No, this is, 5 minutes in?
yeah.
Oh my God. I love it. Did he rip a piece of the engine out
Yeah,
so
he,
she can't
he
start
ripped
it?
something out of the engine so it wouldn't start. He does have 2 eye slits
Yeah.
though, or eye holes. But when he's first introduced, you only see
See the
one.
one
The other
eye,
one's in
yeah.
a shadow.
Well, that's reference.
Oh, Jesus.
Right.
Beep.
Right.
Did you guys see that window?
Yep.
I mean, the blood dripping off the broken window. I mean, this, for a movie that starts out like wholesome and friendly, we got to
Yeah.
menacing in about 5 minutes.
Quickly, yeah.
I really don't like the way this scene resolves. It makes me uncomfortable.
It's the moral of the story. Don't go necking in the woods.
Yikes. So what do you think, guys? Off to a pretty strong
Wow, and
start.
that's how you start a movie.
That was terrifying.
But can I tell you, the next 40 minutes are a little slow. So listeners, we're going to skip. We got to about the 6 minute mark. We're going to skip ahead a little bit. Now, before we jump to the next timestamp, George, if you want to skip to let's call it the 8 minute mark. Just get yourself a visual of the main cop who's working the beat here.
Oh, wow, she survived all that?
That's what happens when these are based on true stories. People actually
Yeah.
do survive the attacks, which is both kind of less effed up and kind of more effed up.
Yeah.
But, 7:38, just take a look at the main sheriff's deputy that's working this case and see if you recognize that outfit at all.
Hmm.
All right, I'm at 7:22.
He looks
Okay.
like
yeah.
I mean, he's got real police pants. He doesn't have blue
Yeah.
jeans. But that
Mhm.
open collar, sheriff's badge, beige
Cowboy hat.
shirt. I mean, it's...
It kind of looks like what's his name from Smoking the Bandit.
Yeah.
Aviators.
But I think this is probably as close to historically accurate as you're going to get.
Yeah.
They're going for realism in this movie, but it definitely informs what the cop is wearing in part 2 a lot more than even Friday 1 informed what the cop was wearing in Friday 2, which is strange. But I mean, if you're stealing aesthetics, you might as well
Steal it all.
stick to it. So skip ahead to 42:35. And for the listeners who want to join us on this journey, pause it after you've watched 10 minutes to 52:35. There's a lot going on in this movie. I recommend this movie sometime, guys, even though I'm spoiling
Yeah, I'm
it
gonna
for
check
you
it out.
heavily. It's a good watch. It's hokey in places. It's definitely not, it's not there yet. This is pre-Halloween for sure. We haven't got the formula yet.
If they would have stuck with what they did in the first 8 minutes, they probably would have been closer to the formula than they thought.
I don't know that you could sustain that amount of menace for that long, though.
No.
You got to ebb and flow a little bit to really make it work. This movie doesn't necessarily work. I mean, I'm not handing it the Oscar yet, but when it's on, it's not playing. What we've done is we've basically skipped a bunch of exposition and a lot of police procedural stuff, which
Right.
it's fine. The guy on the left now is a Texas Ranger, so if you need any roundhouse kicks,
Mhm.
that guy might be your guy.
Mhm.
He does not look like Chuck Norris.
But we have not missed any malice. But look, our friend is back. Stop staring at his sack, George.
I'm just happy he's wearing a mask. Is he practicing social distancing?
It's so funny. I was watching a vampire movie today from the 60s, and the surgeon's wearing this mask, and I'm just like, man, your nurse has her nose poking out. You really ought to get it. Oh, right.
Not wearing it right.
Still, though, I mean, in an operating room, she probably ought to cover that knees.
Yeah, you would think.
Man, why? Okay, so there's a guy running around killing people, making out in cars. You really just can't, make out in your basement?
Yeah, right.
You can't just be like, Mom and Dad, I've got a girl I like, and I'm going to smooch her, but I don't want to get killed. And
Well,
they're like,
these
we would
two look
rather
like
you
they're-
risk getting killed than smooch under our roof.
They look like they're 42 years old. They don't look like high school students.
Well, I think it's if I remember from the real story, that guy's in
I
his
love
early
his-
20s,
his-
and she's like a high school junior, because it's the
I love
50s.
his body language. I do have to say.
He's a good actor, man.
Yeah, he's got I love that hunched over kind of shuffle he's doing. Very creepy.
It lacks all supernatural influence. He is just a creepy predator guy. But that's not to say he's not going to have some fun here in a minute.
Seems to like to put himself in danger.
Yeah, the stunt work's pretty fun. A little spectacle for your movie watcher. A lot of screaming.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And not
yeah.
like a fun, ha 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 kind of we're in a slasher movie scream. There's no fun in this scene so far. This is just menace,
Brutal.
little hand-to-hand combat.
How come he doesn't carry weapons? He does. There you go. Blackjack?
The breathing into the mask is super creepy.
Yeah.
They don't do enough of that with the Jason one, where you know
No.
you see it like retract into his face.
Well,
Ooh.
he's wearing a potato sack in Jason, right? This looks like a pillowcase.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
little density difference. I mean, it's not right. It's the one extra beat.
But it adds to it,
It's-
definitely.
It's the one extra beat in the Vanilla Ice song to make it no longer copying. Is George still there? He's awful quiet.
He's still
Yeah,
here,
I'm
yeah.
watching.
Excellent.
I'm here.
This would be as good a time as any to point out the woods setting, whereas part one is
Mm.
very much just in the camp. But part
Right.
two managed to go out into the woods for most of the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, a lot more trees, a lot more in the woods rather than walking alongside it like in the first one. Can't imagine where they got that idea.
Yeah. This chick is very Fay Ray. Her screams are good.
This is really good, Dan.
I'm glad you guys like it.
Like the breathing in the mask is awesome. The menacing way the mask is shot is awesome.
And the way he moves.
It's really raw too. Like they're really dragging out this kill. You know, it seems more realistic,
Yeah.
right? Like obviously you said this was based on a true story, so it's supposed to be.
Let's just say it
This
doesn't
is-
doesn't necessarily stick too close to the
Okay.
reality,
Well, yeah. Right.
which you'll see here soon. But yeah, the willingness to actually drag out the actual confrontation rather than just like, you know, cut
Like
to
quick,
a cool kill.
cheap kills. Like this is
Right.
a story within a story. Like they're gonna show.
Notice here he is not taller than that tree like our friend Jason.
Right.
But he does end
Mhm.
up wrapping her around the tree, which is a little bit familiar. He's just not using a garrote.
Also, there's no like the sound is much different. There's no
Music.
eerie sounds, music, anything like that.
Like the soundtrack
No
is
jump
her
scare.
screams.
Yeah, no jump scare sounds or anything.
Kind of reminds me of that fight in The Dark Knight Rises where they just don't score it.
Oh,
Mm.
Yeah, escalating to
He's-
a firearm. A little different.
mm-hmm.
Now, question: do they ever establish why this guy's doing this?
No.
Okay.
Because they know it makes it scarier when you don't know why someone's doing the killing.
Right. I mean, do they even like say like, is it territorial? Like whenever they
Uh-uh.
end up. Okay. That's like an old school revolver. What is that? It's like
It does lend a different thing. You don't see. I mean, I'm trying to think of any slasher movie where the main guy uses a pistol.
right.
But
Well,
for
it
him
takes it
to
away from
beat
the
the
whole
guy up
slasher.
first and like bloody him up and then finish him with a pistol is so much more
Yeah, it's very malicious.
scary and malicious and violent and brutal than to just like be shooting guys, right? This is not an action movie. This is a horror movie. And
Right.
they somehow walked that line well enough that you got to see a guy use a pistol in a horrific way. And then there's this part, guys. This part's
Is it-
so amazing that I might have written a song about it years ago.
Is that a trombone?
Yep.
She's a trombone player in the band.
Oh,
And in
okay.
real life, there was something where like her missing trombone was always a key to trying to find the killer because it was missing from the car when they found it. And it's a
Okay.
traceable thing. So, I mean, the weird thing is what you're about to see is based on one of the pivotal clues in the case. But then what? I mean, I don't think George is ready for what he's about to witness.
Okay.
So, George,
Yeah.
you just saw a woman murdered by a Jason Voorhees looking dude carrying a trombone with a knife taped to it.
Yeah.
Tell
I'm
me your
not,
initial reaction. This is like maybe my favorite and maybe the most pivotal scene in the entire movie. Trombone kill. How you feeling after the trombone kill?
I want to hear his reaction. Then I want to give my honest opinion.
It's not very practical. No, I'm like, I'm trying to get into like the mind of
Yeah.
this guy.
No.
Like,
I just want George. I don't need you to tell me why he did it. I want to hear George. George, you just watched a woman killed by a trombone. In a movie that a minute before you were like, I really like this movie. Does George still like this movie?
yeah.
I'll take it. Travis, what you got, man?
I felt that it was amazing until that happened.
Until that happened?
Yeah, and then I'm like, yeah, no. How did this make it past the writing phase? Like, it was amazing, and then that happened, and I'm like, no.
I think they're really going for something.
Are they?
I think they're really. I think they're swinging for the fences a little bit. I don't know if they actually succeed. I mean, it's freaking weird to watch a lady get stabbed by a trombone knife.
I think I would have been fine with it, even the trombone knife, if he wasn't blowing into it.
Oh, but that makes it so much creepier because you get that weird foot sound.
Yeah, but it didn't. It almost seemed comical.
Well, and that's the thing. It's hilarious.
Like, this movie seems brutal until I saw that, and I'm like, wait, is this a Monty Python movie? What's going on?
At first glance, it's hysterically funny that a man is playing a trombone to death. Like, he's blowing his own trombone to murder. What? Huh?
Yeah.
I think what it is, one thing that you guys don't know because you didn't see the in-between parts of this movie, they established pretty early on that there are some sadosexual elements to these victims. You know,
Okay.
lots of bite marks in places and definitely a sexual edge to the killings, which much more realistic than a Jason killer. Thank goodness there's no sexual element to the Jason. I don't think that would add anything to that movie.
No.
But in this movie, they've established that he's got a sexual sadism to him. And so in 1977, this guy's like first or second movie. And how do you present sadomasochistic sex in a mainstream-ish American movie in 1977? I mean, the short answer is you don't, or you end up in a porno theater. Like, they do not show sadosexual behavior in a movie. And I don't know that it would add anything to it, even if they did.
But when in doubt, kill by trombone.
So the solution was tape a knife to a trombone.
Well, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to blend that element, you know, the actual clue, the missing trombone.
The trombone does have a emotion
Phallus.
to it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. No, I mean, he's definitely, he's not exactly subtle in his rhythmic presentation of the trombone.
Right.
You know, it's got a thing to it on purpose. She's tied up in a certain manner. I mean, I think what
it
they're doing.
reminds me of the lust kill in 7.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Yes, but
We're not saying it's
at
successful,
no point did it
Travis.
get comical. It never, like, when he's describing to them, and then he made me put it on, and he made me put it on, and he made me fuck her, and he's like screaming.
Yeah.
Like, you never are taken out of that scene. You're completely in it. You're invested in his emotion based on this. I was on board.
But this
and
is
then
also
that happened, I was like,
1977
it
as
doesn't
well.
matter. Texas Chainsaw was 74, so they were able to draw me in with a really awesome killer character without any backstory and missing 40 minutes of this movie. I'm all in. I'm about to go buy this DVD. And then I see that.
And then you see Trombone Kill.
I see the
So you
trombone
think
kill, and
that
it
they
doesn't make
shouldn't?
sense.
They just should have left the missing
Yes.
trombone from real life alone, and
Or do the kill by trombone. The whole blowing and putting the knife on the end just kind of didn't. I don't know. I'd have to maybe see it all in full context, but even then, I don't think I would have liked that scene. That would have been an eye roll for me.
Spoiler alert, Travis. Even in full context, it's pretty goofy.
Okay.
But it's memorable as hell. I mean, you're not going to forget
Yeah.
Trombone Kill in a movie that, I mean, nobody's ripped off Trombone Kill yet.
No.
Still ripe for
But-
the borrowing.
But when done right, it never takes you out of the scene. Like, even when we go back to Silence of the Lambs, even when Buffalo Bill does the tuck and he stands up and he's standing there naked. Yeah. It never as exactly. As weird as it was, it never took you out of the movie. It added to it. It added to the creepiness. That did not add to the creepiness of this character. So to me, it was a fail.
Well, we're not watching this
But-
movie for you to judge this movie. We're watching this movie so you can see where Friday got all its great
But
ideas.
definitely,
And it's
yes.
just too bad they left the trombone kill on the cutting room floor of part 2.
Yeah.
If they put that in the movie, I probably would not have part 2 in my top.
You probably wouldn't have a Friday part 3 if they had
Yeah,
that.
this is true.
Because we never did get the Town of the Dreaded Sundown 2. Although they did eventually make a remake, which I felt like I was living in a fantasy world that one of my favorite movies that nobody's ever heard of got a remake. But
Right.
yeah.
Did Rob Zombie do it?
Oh, that would have been awesome. You gotta fuck the trombone, fuck, trombone, fuck. You gotta
We'll
actually
find out
fuck the trombone.
We're gonna find out that trombone has a backstory.
Oh my god. It was like the hottest trombone, but then it was like assaulted
Right.
by a family member, like a French horn got it, and then now it just murders people. I hate those.
Trombone had a
movies.
troubled past.
Troubled past.
Hey, so but
I'm glad you showed me this though.
there's
'cause
one more scene you got to
some
watch.
good
But before
shit.
we get there, have you noticed the preponderance of cars and car terror in this one?
Mm.
There was
Mhm.
no car terror in part 1 of Friday. We're not building
Right.
on an idea from the original Friday, right? There's the pulling up and picking up Annie
Mhm.
with a car. You know, and Pamela Voorhees pulls up in a car, but there's no actual horror within the car.
Right. That becomes trope
But then
with part 2.
by part 2, they're borrowing
Mhm.
from Halloween, but also notice the omnipresence of cars, right?
Mhm.
More so even than Halloween, where you've got like one important car the whole time, maybe 2 if you argue that Annie and Laurie's ride around in that car is important to the story, you know, because Annie gets the old
Right. in that
crossover,
car.
chokey, stabby slash. But
Mm-hmm.
the focus on the car, especially Jenny's car in part 2, it's a little bit Halloween. It's also
Mhm.
a little bit Town of the Dreaded Sundown, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While we're borrowing aesthetics.
And it definitely becomes a staple.
Oh, man.
Almost to the point where it becomes a staple for all horror movies. When Chevy, I think a couple years ago, did a commercial. It was either Chevy or Ford, where they show just
Wasn't a good commercial then, was it?
well, it was a Super. I don't know if it was Super Bowl commercial. I think it was Chevy, and they just do a compilation of horror movies where people are trying to start their car.
Right, and none of them are
And
Chevys.
none of them are
because
starting,
if
and
they
none of them
were,
are Chevys, right?
Right, gotcha.
So they
Love it.
kind of, yeah, it was good.
Love it.
So, there's also coming up here, you're going to see the last little payoff from this movie that snuck its way into part 2, but also just the last great scene from this movie. Go ahead and skip to 1 hour, 7 minutes, 40 seconds. And if you're playing along at home, go ahead and watch about 9.5 minutes and then come on back.
Uh-huh.
This is Alice's kill.
Well, I mean, parts of it might seem familiar.
Yeah.
Parts of it are not going to seem familiar.
Is this where the trumpet comes in?
No, we're back to full malice at this point. Like the
Okay.
little bit of fun you had with the trumpet is over, and now the movie's not fun anymore.
Okay.
I was going to say, no, she's a cello player or
Yeah,
something.
it's not like the flute in American Pie,
She's playing a piccolo, but nobody can see it.
right? She's kind of 70s pretty. Oh my.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, ambush shot through a window in the back of the head. That
Wow.
does not follow any of our slasher rules,
Nope.
guys.
Nope. Is that Marianne from Gilligan's Island?
Yes, it is. But yeah, he's still kind of squirming on the ground. That's gross. That's how you make a gun kill horrific, is you show the
Yeah.
aftermath.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Holy mackerel.
Wow, cheek shot.
Yeah, that's Marianne from Gilligan's Island
Yeah.
getting shot in the
Damn.
face. Jesus.
I love that point of view shot. The feet.
She's still moving. She's a trooper.
She's got 2 headshots. This could easily be a Friday 13th movie.
That bit where he
What?
like walks into view in the kitchen doorway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
I love it.
oh, yikes.
I kind of wish he didn't have a gun. That takes the fun out of it.
I don't know the way that they're using it though. It's still horrific, and I think
it's very horrific.
it's all in
yes.
how they've framed the kill and how in the attack, and then showing this like animalistic struggle to survive. Like it's really successful horror in a way that I've never seen
Mhm.
since. Like you don't see this kind of realistic.
brutality.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, it's definitely
Oh,
real
but look what he
brutal.
picked up, boys.
nice pickaxe.
He's a
Fortnite.
well, no, that was what Jason used in part 2,
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
There's your
Yeah.
weapon. That's where he gets it.
This chick, man.
She gonna pee herself?
The only thing he's missing is like a Negan whistle. Like as he's chasing her, just like
Yeah.
But he's not here to taunt, man. He's just here to
no.
cause havoc.
He's missing a.
Yeah.
It's insane how similar this is to Jason
Yeah.
in part 2.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
crazy.
I feel like it's that Mr. Bean copying off the guy next to him. You know, Friday the 13th's just like dropping pins on the floor so he can get a look at the notes that Sound of the Dreaded Sundown has. Like, ooh, this is a great idea. Oh, no, I wasn't looking.
Seriously. I mean, this is sheer theft.
But at the same time, this scene is way different. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, the blocking isn't the same at all, but the character design is
Just the character design is it's there.
I mean, maybe that's who this guy was, right? He got tired of killing in Texarkana and he moved on to Crystal
Yeah.
Lake.
That's what I was saying. This could easily be branded as a Friday the 13th movie. Like it's not. It fits right into that universe.
Although the timing, you know, being in like 49 and 50,
Right.
you could say, I mean, here you go. Here's how you tie these two together. Here's Dan fixes it. You make this guy Elias Voorhees, father of Jason. And this is why Pamela's a single mother, because
Right.
she realizes that her husband's been killing people. So she takes off.
And
Ends up in
explains
Crystal
maybe
Lake?
Jason's deformities. Maybe he was beaten as a child.
I mean, I think we just copyright Remedial Film Class podcast, right? That we're keeping that.
Mail that shit to ourselves. We're writing movies tonight, people.
I mean, watching this movie and writing a movie, I think we just wrote Friday Part 2.
Yeah. What they should do with this chick is he should string her up on a crucifix in that front yard. So when they wake up the next morning, she's a scarecrow in their cornfield.
How many franchises are you going to tie together here, Travis?
Oh, you mean like Jeepers Creepers? No, I'm just saying it would be a cool kill to like make her into a scarecrow in their front lawn.
The neighbor's not answering the door like Halloween,
Yes.
even though the neighbor's
Tommy?
clearly home.
Open the door. Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Big dog. Lights on.
Oh wow, is that a pit bull?
Yeah.
That's a terrier. Wow, this is very Halloween. Or he puts the pickaxe in the back of her head and then drags her back with the pickaxe.
That would be amazing. I don't think they
Ugh.
I don't think they're going to give you that one, though. But look at that. I mean, the look of
Yeah.
him frustrated with
The
his
breathing,
mask
yeah.
pulling back with the breathing. Like, whoa. It's way scarier
Mhm.
than it should be. But it really works in places. So you see why I forgive the trombone. Because the rest of
Yes.
the movie's so good.
Absolutely. And that's what makes me angry about the trombone. It just doesn't fit.
Oh,
It's like all of a sudden.
There's a lot more hokiness in the parts we skipped. I mean, it's not a
I'm
tonally
sure.
consistent movie, but it's very watchable. It's one I used to show people a lot when we used to be able to see people, you know?
Right.
So keep watching here. This is like their, you get an idea of the town's reaction, right? A lot of it may seem sort of familiar, you know? Everybody stayed in their homes, away from each other, and
Right.
avoided the darkness. That part's not so real.
What's this guy delivering?
That's your midday
newspaper.
newspaper, man.
Sorry, don't they have the internet?
You really have high expectations for the 1970s presentation of the 1940s. Hey, I bet you that police car is of the correct jurisdiction, though.
I don't know. It seems kind of like an England. police
Actually,
car.
the part right there, they just said there's like 9 different police agencies in Texarkana right now
Okay.
looking for this guy. So
Huh.
you got a little bit
Could
of
have been an
everybody.
English car. Yeah. This is the opposite of what Loomis wanted to happen.
Hey, you remember that lady from part 3? Oh, cat scare. Womp womp. Okay, we can turn it off now. Now that we've got our cat scared box checked, That lady reminds me so much of the lady at the beginning of part 3, Travis.
Yes.
Although she's
Yes.
actually old, not just playing
Uh-oh.
old. But
Mm-hmm.
George will have to learn about that soon.
They kind of continue with it, like we'll talk about it next week. They do continue with a lot of the stuff we just watched.
Oh, yeah.
It becomes Friday trope. Like you expect it in a Friday movie. Just the way they shoot him walking and stuff.
What do you
Love
think of The Town That Dreaded Sundown, George, as an influence on Friday Part 2?
I think it's clear as day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's undeniable, really.
Spot on.
The remarkable thing is Friday 2 is as watchable with very few of the actual, like, physical elements that movie had. Like, the things that made The Town That Dreaded Sundown successful, you don't see those in Friday Part 2. And Friday Part 2, the things that made it successful, there's none of that in Sundown.
Right.
But the aesthetic influence is just overwhelming.
Yeah.
No, they definitely. I give kudos to the creators of Part 2 to recognize this as, yes, that's our Jason. Easily, like you can tell. Like if I was watching this movie in '76, I would say, this needs to be like the go-to for our killer, definitely.
Well, and imagine, we went through the Michael Myers checklist earlier, kind of tongue-in-cheek, because I knew this was coming. Jason is so much different, aside from those 4 items that I listed,
Mm-hmm.
from Michael Myers, because he is so much more similar to this nameless, faceless killer
Mm-hmm.
in Sundown. So thank you, Sundown, because without that, you just get another Michael Myers.
Right.
So it's what sets us on this course for just a little separation between the two to allow them to kind of coexist in the same very similar market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I love about the '80s is they were able to keep this going, and create enough branded characters that are similar but are different enough to where you can have 6 or 7 of these characters and love them all. It was a good time.
It was really a good time. It's a shame
Yeah.
I missed it all because I was a kid.
What makes me angry is whenever they put those 5 or 6 together in poster form or in T-shirts or whatever, they always inject Chucky in there, and I don't understand. I don't get it. Like Chucky doesn't even hold a candle to the icons of Leatherface, Jason, Freddy, Michael, and Pinhead. Like to me,
Is it because
Chucky
he's so
Chucky
small
doesn't
he can
fit.
just like fit in down between their legs? Like you get all these men standing up and then this empty spot where their legs are where you just throw Chucky in there.
it's like he's like the Yoda of the group. But I don't know. He's just not scary.
All right, so you've seen The Town That Dreaded Sundown from 1976. Let me take you back to 1971, George, with another very influential, not just on this one, not just on Friday the 13th Part 2, but also the original. Go ahead and go to YouTube, because thanks to Italian rights, we can watch it in the public domain, although the Blu-ray from Arrow is fantastic if you are so inclined. The movie is called A Bay of Blood from 1971.
I've heard you talk about this movie before.
It came up a little bit in the Friday Part 1, but now we're really going to get into it. This one, the one I'm watching, it actually says A Bay of Blood 1971. It was uploaded by Fernando Paca. Thank you, Fernando.
There it is, 1971.
Now, there are going to be a lot more jumps in Bay of Blood than there were in A Town That Dreaded Sundown. So instead of telling you how much to watch, I'm just going to tell you the timestamps, and then I'm going to compress what we watched live for time, and so that you can listen to it without having to watch with the video. So what that means for you is you're going to want to look at the show notes to see exactly how much of each clip to watch if you're not willing to watch the entire movie. But just watch the whole movie. What? Come on, guys. It's so good. Sort of. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and start at the 0 mark. I want you to get a feel for the score, but also the bay setting that they just emphasized really hard in the first minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Sure. Yeah, sure
So-
do.
I see Mario Bava.
Yes, this is
Is
a
that
Mario
name
Bava.
you've brought up.
he is the father of the Giallo, so he's like the grandfather of the slasher movie. And this is arguably the very first slasher movie.
Well, other than Psycho. Sounds like a Bond movie.
Yeah, well, actually, Claudine Auger, or whatever her name is a Bond girl.
Okay.
So it's got a James Bond connection. That score is just
I like
awesome.
it, yeah.
But look at this bay.
It's Bay of Blood.
It's
Looks
a
Crystal Lakey, doesn't it?
It's a bay of pigs. I don't know what to say about it.
But look at how similar the shots of the bay are, especially to the shots of Crystal Lake from part 1.
Okay.
That kind of rolling hills, open water thing.
Okay. It's a bay.
So what you need to know about this, the Mario Bava thing is castles. He's gothic horror. Even his early Giallos took place in like fancy fashion houses that were decorated like old castles.
Uh-huh.
But this movie takes an abrupt right turn into kind of a naturalistic Camp Crystal Lake.
Were we just the POV of a fly?
You were the POV of a fly.
Question.
Yes.
Did he do this because he was inspired by another movie, or was he the first to do it?
So is the aesthetic of Bay of Blood influenced by another movie?
Yes, Pete, it is.
He was inspired by a movie called Whirlpool from the year before by Jose Larraz.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that. That's why I asked.
Yes. No, way to set me
Okay.
up with that. The Jose Larraz movie is fantastic for the aesthetic. It definitely kind of helped key in what this movie would become. But it is much more a forebearer of The Last House on the Left than it is Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Although it does have strip poker. So
Nice.
that kind of shows
Thanks.
up in part 1. Go ahead and skip ahead to the 5-minute mark.
But why? I just Miss Bates is right here on the. Okay, 5 minutes.
So I'm intentionally going to skip a bunch of plot stuff because even if you watch it front to back, the plot of this movie is a little hard to track. I think intentionally. But
Wow.
so Friday Part 2 starts with the flashback murder of an old lady. This movie starts with the murder of an old lady. That's a coincidence, I think, but it's kind of fun. What's the other thing that happens at the beginning of Part 2 besides the flashback to the murder of an old lady? You have the murder of the old lady.
Uh-huh.
Very well dressed for a killer.
Well, up until this point, your Giallo killer was, fedora, black gloves, big hat, fancy dress. It's a way of very visually stepping out of what he'd been doing with this fancy dressed house and fancy dressed man. And basically, he's about to turn that shit on its head. You'll note that the pacing of this movie has got nothing on Friday the 13th, man. It takes its time, sometimes a little too much time.
Suicide note?
Ooh, the suicide note. The perfect crime.
I don't have subtitles on, so can't tell what it said.
It looks like Walt Disney.
He does have a Walt Disney thing going on. This is actually just a really meta movie about the Avengers movies. Oh, snap.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of makes that suicide note a little strange.
Sure does.
You might think that he didn't see that coming.
I didn't because there was no cat jump scare.
Yeah.
But there you go. You got an old lady killed, and then you got the killer of the old lady killed, right? So that's the opening of Friday Part 2 as well. And the last shot of the flashback is the head staring at you out of the fridge. Well, here you've got the old lady staring at the camera.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, all coincidence, but it's kind of fun. So skip ahead to 11:30.
11:30.
Yeah,
Note the point of view camera in the woods.
No squid.
Point of view camera in the woods.
And then the death of a
Noted.
real animal, straight out of Friday Part 1, only it's a squid instead of a snake. Notice he's wearing the Pamela Voorhees sweater, too.
Okay, this is the guy with the sweater.
And as a service to all of us, nobody changes clothes this entire movie. So you can try to keep them straight from what they're wearing, because the plot is very difficult. Once you've got your fill of the point of view in the woods, skip ahead to the 15-minute and 56-second mark. I'm really specific on that one. So 15:50 would do. So here you have
The Doom Buggy.
the car full of raucous teenagers, the backbone of every Friday the 13th movie, The opening of every Jason movie. Here you go. Raucous teenagers, horned up, acting silly, terrible haircuts. That guy driving, by the way, may have the worst haircut I've ever seen on a human being.
It's like a Dutch boy haircut.
It's like they did a bowl cut, but with a full-on like helmet.
Oh my god.
He looks like a poodle.
It's like
He
a
does
mullet.
look like a poodle.
The mullet nightmare. I love that car though.
I think that car loves you back, Travis. It's awful smiley.
It just
It really does look like a happy car.
Yeah, and this is like the frolic. The teenagers always frolic at their destination right before they all start getting picked off. Hang out at the docks, and she seems to be the fast one of the group.
We're about to hit like full speed Friday the 13th plagiarism territory here, so
Yeah.
if you were intrigued by the last movie.
Yeah, that's a bad haircut. He looks like Farquaad. He looks like Lord Farquaad.
I mean, it's like he tried to do a mullet, but he just didn't know when the party stops.
Party in the back, party in the front, party on the side.
That pool is horrifying. But look at that cool reflection. I think that's on purpose. I hear a lot of, this being like the story of nature reclaiming what humans have done to it, So you get a beautiful reflection of nature on a crappy pool. I see you, Mario Bava. I get you, bro. Okay, you can go ahead and stop when you see the tarot card,
13.
Yeah.
because that's neither here nor there. Go ahead and skip ahead to 2658.
It's neither here nor there that the card was a 13.
I mean, that's a pretty cool coincidence, but... All right, George, you can have that one. There's a good detail you
26.
noticed.
That was a death card, wasn't it?
2658.
2658?
Yeah. I mean, you can go back 26. Go back to 26 even. I think Travis will appreciate me going back to 26 even. This is for Travis.
Thanks. Yeah.
But I mean, look at the way. Okay, so look at the way it's framed. That is the same shot.
Absolutely.
Even the angle of like the leering camera is pretty much the same.
Absolutely. Thanks for that.
It's one of those things where, hearing people talk about the influence of different producers on parts 1 and 2 especially, and how much they were just like on the slide, just like, oh yeah, I totally came up with this idea on my own.
Right. I definitely I'm going to start paying attention more to influence and borrowing.
These movies are just so niche, right? Like there's just not a huge audience, and there's not a huge number of movie makers in this era of the horror stuff. So they're looking at each other's notes, and it's fun to trace where these ideas grow.
Oh, Spear and Mask. Spear and Mask.
Oh my, look at that. Even wearing them as a trick to scare.
Yeah. Spear and Mask.
You think they watched this movie before they made their movie?
That was done a couple times
So this part, you can't probably understand it because the Italian and we're talking too much, but that chick was totally about to let Helmet Head come in and have a three-way with her and her boyfriend.
Okay.
But Spear Guy was like,
C blocked.
He actually said something along the lines of, you said you'd take the German one, or something like that. Really, I mean, these are some crass Italian dudes.
Yeah.
And poor Helmet Head is just...
Farquaad.
Farquaad is left. C blocked by the Spearman. He's spear blocked?
Spear and a mask.
Did he get spear blocked?
Spear blocked. But to go back to the borrowing, I was about to say James Cameron gets a lot of credit for Aliens and, the script and everything with Aliens. But when you find out that he took all that stuff from Starship Troopers, which was a book, the dropship and the Space Marines and all that stuff.
Completely uncredited.
Completely lifted it. even down to the power loader, they had robotic uniforms that all the Space Marines wore. So he totally stole most of the cool visuals.
Speaking of cool visuals, how about these ornate designs inside this weird bay house?
Well, this, I guess, is where Bava's gothic direction comes in, his art direction, because even this house is like a lake house, but it still has that gothic castle feel to it.
He can do the La Raz thing, but he's still going to be Bava at the core. I like this lady just like hunting through the house like, oh my God, there has to be a bed. Then she found it. God, that walk. That man has
Yeah.
swag.
Pants are really tight, so
He just has to walk like that.
yeah.
to
I
avoid
think I
pain.
could tell what religion he is.
And poor Farquaad has to stock his own fire.
Farquaad with the tight pants. He doesn't want to get those bangs wet.
But even, this like swimming around the dock thing, they use this image in part 1, part 4.
Mm-hmm.
The remake has a lot of this, actually, if you
Yeah.
remember back to that one kill. I mean, this image that we're seeing right now just keeps popping up. And the funny thing is, I think it's scarier when Baba does it, but I'll let you guys watch this part.
No, that's a trick they never did on Friday 13th movies.
Not a lot of floating dead bodies.
Yeah, not a lot of floating dead bodies.
It's a hell of a set, this like dilapidated old resort.
So it's kind of like where they could have gotten the whole idea of a campground too.
Well, that's the thing, man. Bay of Blood turns into Camp Blood really, really quickly. And who's to say if they don't have available like a dilapidated resort for free in the New Jersey area, maybe they end up doing just a Bay of Blood.
Yeah.
Summer camp comes along at some point, but I don't know. Summer camp works so much better because you get the isolated kids away from their parents. This one, it's just a whole different mindset. So it has all the same kind of action notes and some of the aesthetic.
Nope. Chainsaw?
Well, she's not running from a killer.
Right.
Now.
Oh, or is she?
Well, I mean, she doesn't know she is, I guess.
Oh.
She's running because
She's not running anymore.
she saw a dead body and she,
Right.
now
She was not running
she's-
from a killer.
No, she just got jacked
I was
up.
just saying that shot of her running towards the resort kind of reminded me of when the girl walks, that dolly shot of her walking towards the house before she goes in.
Well, and one thing I wanted to draw your attention to, when she got her throat slit, the weapon used is called a bill hook. It's kind of like a machete, but sort of inverted.
Right.
The sharp edge of the bill hook is the part that points out.
hook.
If you go and look at the guy getting his throat slit after the skinny dip,
Right.
the machete's upside down.
Right.
So they're actually emulating that image by having the curvy part on his neck, just like that. It's a weird, like, almost copying too closely the answers from your neighbor's worksheet,
Right.
Like,
Wow.
okay, well, curvy part goes on the neck. Let's get curvy part on the neck. It's like, well, that's not the sharp part, but okay.
And this happens.
Yeah. Poor Farquaad doesn't get to get in on the...
Or does he?
Ooh.
He's the one watching, maybe.
We've crossed the threshold from, like, speculative coincidence to, like, copyright infringement levels of plagiarism. So just kind of don't be surprised when some of the stuff that's coming up is just, like, stuff you've just seen.
Someone get an arrow through their back, out through their neck.
Well, you remember I mentioned the bill hook. You remember our friend Mark and his reverse luge with a machete in his face?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually not a machete. It's a bill hook. I don't know why I brought that up just now. I'm sure nothing akin to Mark getting a bill hook in the face is going to happen anytime soon. That's Mark, man.
Holy shit.
This gore effect is fantastic. The eyes, holy moly.
Yeah.
So gross. Now, here's an interesting
Wow.
thing. The editing is way different than you do in a slasher movie. It just kind of hangs out here for a while.
Yeah.
And then the fade, and you're like, okay, we're moving on. Oh, we're still here. It's very weird blocking. This is where the Americans win, right? We take this great idea and we're like, hey, what if we cut all this extra fluff out and we just go face, stairs, luge, lightning strike.
And
Luge.
Luge.
Now, if you guys remember, it's face, luge, lightning strike, orgasm, right?
Right.
Like that is our modus operandi in that Friday Part 2 version of this movie. So I'm sure they're not going to follow the face stabbing with the sex part, right?
Or the spear that they just showed.
What spear? What? They
They just
They
zoomed in on
wouldn't.
the spear.
They wouldn't lift an entire kill sequence directly from Bay of Blood, would they?
Someone gonna send that spear through 2 people into the ground?
No way would they rip off
No.
a kill exactly the same.
Well, see, it's different because she's on top.
Or is it? Is it gonna hit the floor and the
Oh.
blood's gonna hit the...
Oh my God, it's exactly the same.
Notice she doesn't stop moving though.
Right.
Like some of the shots, it almost looks like she keeps going. It's kind of fucked up. And then
The only thing that was missing was the extra push to make that spear hit the floor.
notice then you cut to a smiling car.
Yeah.
Now, Tim Lucas, who is a film critic, will tell you that that's Baba's nod to like, come on, guys, like we're just having fun. And I don't think he's wrong. Tim's smart dude. Another great shot of the lake, by the way. I
Very
mean the
calm.
bay, excuse me, because it's the same setting. All right, zip ahead to. There's another tarot card. Go to 4855.
There's that sweater.
Oh yeah, Mrs. Voorhees looking trim. I mean, it's a dude now, so you gotta love a nice wax head jump scare. Not unlike Mrs. Voorhees.
This guy kind of has like a Norman Bates thing going too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And his relationship with the old lady that got killed at the beginning, I think, is one of his motivating factors in being so like mean all the time. All right, let's go to 5135. It's not a huge jump, but it'll save you 2 minutes of your life.
Where are there octopi? What, like, where does this take? I guess they have octopus in their freshwater areas.
Well, no, it's a bay, man. It's like on the coast.
She's washing her face. And
Okay.
She's in front of a mirror.
This is straight out of kind of
That's the
thematically. It's very much Friday, just a stack of bodies. Now, as a preview to next week, there is a very Friday Part 3 interaction that's about to occur. And it's different enough that I think I can show it to you, and you're just going to see it next time and be like, I remember this. So that's why we're just going to watch. By the way, that's the axe from Part 1. Like, same model and everything.
I love how his shoes are like nice Italian leather loafers.
Well, he's a well-to-do Italian man. What else would you expect?
That is what I would expect.
So that interaction at the door, keep that as a little, just a bookmark in the back of your mind for when you're watching Part 3.
Okay.
Skip ahead to 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 55 seconds. So just before 1 hour, 5 minutes, but you got to be just a little before.
Jack in the Woods.
She goes into the shack of this threatening character.
Why are you wearing Pamela Voorhees' sweater?
And why are you carrying a billhook? In the English dub, there's a line that's delivered. He says, "I'll kill!" And his delivery is so similar to Betsy Palmer's delivery as Pamela. It's like shocking.
This guy kind of looks like Liv Shriver.
Yeah, I could see that. His billhook just did the microphone stand thing.
Wait, is this a flashback? Isn't that the lady that killed herself?
Yeah, there's a lot of story here. You can skip the story. Jump over to like a minute or an hour 10, 28. 1 hour 10, 28. We're going to skip all the exposition. Is it exposition when it's at the end of
All
the
the
movie?
mansplaining?
All the flashbackification. We're going to... Because the plot of this movie, irrelevant to Friday the 13th. Also, kind of irrelevant overall. Not the most narratively strong flick. But if you're at the hour 10, 30 or so mark, you're going to get a really interesting visual. Because for me, the hallmark like section of the Pamela versus Alice fight in Part 1 is the rolling around on the beach. So you end up with a lady in a long sleeve shirt and a lady in a sweater rolling around struggling with each other, and you're going to get a very similar image here in a minute. I mean, look at that.
They're both wearing sweaters.
The only thing he doesn't do is like bash her head on the ground like like Pamela does in what looks to be a very uncomfortable bit of stunt acting by Alice. There's some real malice in that guy. Like, inconsistent with the movie. I mean, granted, the movie's gory as all get out.
His thumbs weren't even on his
they weren't
throat.
even on her throat.
Well, I mean, he's not really going to kill the actress, guys. Come on.
No, but like it wasn't even close.
All right. So,
almost like he didn't know they were filming his hands.
Yeah.
now, Travis, I know how much you love the trombone scene. And I know that I've made your life a little better. Having
She's
introduced
not going
you...
to do a rusty trombone, is she?
Okay. That's really the end of the Friday the 13th stuff. But just for fun, go ahead and skip to the hour and 22-minute mark. The big finale of the movie. And you'll see the Bond girl and the
Wow. That'll do.
So I guess there is one other firearm using
Yeah.
slasher movie villain.
Looks like the alleyway in any Batman movie. Oh, wow. Big time Omen look on that kid's face.
That girl on the right is in Deep Red. She's the scary little girl from Deep Red. So yeah, a total non sequitur ending. Maybe not as silly as a trumpet with a knife on it, but certainly not traditional ending by any American standards, that's for sure.
Who shot them?
The kids shot the parents. And in the English dub, they say something like, wow, they play dead really well. Ha 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 ha. Okay, let's go play now.
Really?
Yeah. Again, these horrible people all have kind of eaten themselves, like so many snakes. And now their children are the hope for the future, and they frolic in this newly retaken by nature thing. I mean, it's a message of hope, Travis. So that's a Bay of Blood, and it's one that it got released in the U.S. under the title Twitch of the Death Nerve. And then it also got released as Last House on the Left Part 2 when Last House was popular. And it would play on double bills at the drive-in.
Really?
So it was around. It's not like... This isn't coincidence by any means. The makers of the movie never fess up to actually just ripping off a third of this movie wholesale. But holy moly, guys. That middle section...
Yeah. Thievery.
But Friday
Big
did
time.
it better. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You can't just... So many people have found out, oh my gosh, they stole that. We should give credit to the old one. It's like, yeah, you should. But Friday was the remix, right?
Yeah.
Friday made the money.
No, they perfected it. It's kind of like if Wes Craven took an old story of like an old Asian horror movie idea of somebody killing somebody in their dreams, and then he creates Freddy Krueger from that, then that's his contribution. He created a character around a story that already existed.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what Wes Craven and Sean Cunningham did with Last House. They took A Virgin Spring, which is a movie by Ingmar Bergman, who's one of the great kind of artistic European directors.
Right.
They took that, they mixed it in with a little bit of Bay of Blood aesthetic, and then they just got out the big tin can full of rape from the back kitchen, opened that sucker up, and dumped it on the film.
Yep.
Oh, that movie's fucked up.
Home invasion on crack.
Did I ever tell you my Last House on the Left story?
No.
Is George still alive? He hasn't talked in a while.
I think.
Is he
Check your
overwhelmed?
messages.
His wife just texted him.
Oh,
No,
she probably
no,
texted
check
me too. I'll check.
Yeah, my
no,
wife
no,
too.
you check your messages, Dan.
So my
That's
my
right.
Last House on the Left story, guys. Check this out. I'm 13 years old. I'm at Blockbuster, and I'm thinking, should I rent the town that's at Dreaded Sundown with this cool Jason-looking dude on the cover, or should I get this movie that's from the actual makers of Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street? Well, that's the winner, right? So I flipped that sucker over, and the synopsis is: 2 girls go to a concert, and they're attacked. And then their parents, with word of their demise, find a way to have revenge, and then they have revenge, and then they have more revenge, and then the revenge stacks upon the revenge, and the revenge becomes the revenge of the revenge of the revenge, and it's really cool. And I was like, man, this movie is 10% chicks getting killed and 90% parents getting brutal revenge on all the people that did it. This movie's gonna be a winner. Spoiler alert. It is 90% chicks getting raped and 10% revenge. And by the time 13-year-old me got to the revenge part, I was already so annoyed that I didn't really enjoy it.
Yeah. And the remake's even worse.
Yeah, I never even bothered.
Yeah, it's rough. Very rough.
Very important. Very important
My
film.
Last House on the Left story is the guy that got me hooked on horror movies. He lived on Elm Street, and he was the last house on the left.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But then he got killed in a dream, and it wasn't so cool.
I always thought that was kind of cool. Like, how cool is it to be a fan of horror movies and you live on Elm Street and you're the last house on the left?
I mean, how cool is it to be a new fan of horror movies and you live near Haddonfield?
That is true.
And
And the Crystal Lake Diner.
And the Crystal Lake Diner and all the film locations from Friday Part 1.
Right.
You guys want to hear my last house on the left story?
I think we have to wait till next season, right?
Are we watching that?
I hope not. Anyway, George, what's your story?
I watched it one time.
Oh, really?
You did?
Yeah.
How did you get roped into that movie of all the movies?
I don't know.
The original or the remake?
I don't know. Long time ago. Yeah.
So, George, we've taken a deep dive into the influences on Friday Part 2. What do you think about Friday Part 2? Now that you know what it was copying, what it was taking raw ingredients from other sources, which maybe didn't utilize them to their full potential, and just like, is it hitting a home run with those ingredients, or does it cheapen it to you now that you know how much of it isn't like original to that story?
I don't think it cheapens it.
I mean, they do take like a third of Bay of Blood, and then they just have the guy from the town that Dreaded Sundown do all the stuff from a Bay of Blood. That would be the argument against Part 2.
Right. I see that, but I
don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like I don't really have a reference for, what can be borrowed in movies. I know kind of what can be borrowed in music because that's like my background, but we borrowed the aesthetic from whatever that movie was
Bay
called.
of Blood?
No, the aesthetic from the other one for the killer.
The Sundown?
Yeah. So we borrowed the aesthetic, but obviously the plot is way different. Actually, the plot is really way different than both of these movies. The kills in Bay of Blood, like you said, the sequence is just like, it's kind of like there's no excuse for that. But then again, I don't know.
It's kind of like when a New York City DJ makes a mixtape. He takes music from other people, but he's skilled enough to mix it and blend it to where it sounds and it's professional. So they took elements of things that worked, but maybe weren't anywhere near mainstream, and they made it almost necessary to a genre.
Well, I mean, I know that there are songs out there that the chord progressions and the tempo and everything is exactly the same. And sometimes even the melody has overlay where it's pretty similar. And there's still a case to be made that, like, this isn't plagiarism, guys. Like, we didn't have that song in mind when we wrote this.
Right.
I think it's obvious that this was definitely an influence, but I'm not sure how acceptable, borrowing like that is in this world of movies.
Keep an eye on it, because I think it's an interesting thing as we go through, especially since we're doing kind of a genre focus for the moment. Keep an eye on when things are borrowed and when things are stolen wholesale. and we'll see if we can come up with a George's rules for when it's okay and when it's not. If I were to compare Friday the 13th Part 2 to a musical experience, this is my Regulate. Are you guys familiar with that old Michael McDonald song that they sampled? I keep forgetting every time you're near.
Yeah. Yep.
It
Yeah.
swings just as hard as the actual Regulate usage, but man, without Nate Dogg, what's the point? Without Nate Dogg, what is the point?
So this would be without Jason? What's the point?
I mean, the thing is, Jason is only as strong as his backstory and the pace of his action. And I think you could make the argument that maybe we could take Bay of Blood and give it to a modern editor and have him chop it down from, like, say 10 minutes in the middle of the movie down to about 5 minutes in the middle of the movie. And you might be able to match what they did with this Friday Part 2. But Steve Miner was able to sustain that for an hour straight, pretty much. I mean, once you get through the introductory part, it is a full throttle, just roller coaster ride of violence and gore and boobs and scares, and on a level that neither of those other two movies could do. I mean, they couldn't.
Right.
You can't do the malice of Sundown at the pace that Friday did. But a lot more people want to see the splatter more than they do the actual, like, torture-y stuff.
Right.
Same thing with Bay of Blood. You could do all the same kills as Bay of Blood, but 90% of your audience isn't going to be patient enough to sit through a movie with a ridiculous plot and all kinds of weird time jumps.
Right. I feel after seeing this Sundown stuff, I kind of feel didn't get enough of Jason. I would have liked to see more of him do more after seeing that guy do his.
That's one of the things I thought too, watching, Jason or Friday the 13th Part 2, was that, there was a heck of a lot of Jason's feet. Like, a lot of, not seeing him. Then when you finally see him, it's like the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
I
They
think-
wait to over an hour into the movie before he pops out of that bed.
Yeah.
I think their purpose of that, their fault is they were trying to tie 1 and 2 together by, keeping that mystery. Is this Pamela? Did she survive? Is this maybe Alice being a copycat? Like, they're trying to make you think again that it might not be Jason, and then when he jumps out of that bed and he's got that sack over his head, now you're in Jason. Now it's Jason. It's Jason's world, and now we're going to be on a 20-year ride.
I mean,
with
it's
this character,
probably Jason.
right? It
Again,
could be his
that's
his
what I was
cousin
thinking too.
Seamus Voorhees.
It is interesting, though. I'd never considered it because as a kid, I saw this one later. I saw
right.
like 8 and then 3 and then this one, I think, in that order. So
Oh,
I already had an expectation of what Jason was before I got to this movie. There is like a dangling thread there where they're, potentially they're like setting up to where people could think it might be Alice. Like, it's not Alice because you saw her get killed. But they're like, oh, they never found the body, but there was a lot of blood. Like, That's a very kind of a poor effort. Like, they shouldn't have shown her get killed if they want to make me think it's her.
Right.
Kind of like in Part 1 where it's like, if you really want me to think it's not Pamela Voorhees, maybe you show her being helpful at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
Just give me one scene of her being like, hey, Steve Christie, and him being like, hey, Pam, how you doing, girl?
Yeah.
Don't
Like,
even
just
call her Mrs.
popping up.
Voorhees. Just be like, hey, Pam, it's nice to see ya. Thanks for bringing that Jeep back. Dun,
Yeah, her
dun,
popping up in the
dun.
last bit of the movie. We talked about this.
Jarring.
Yeah.
Totally just screams it's a red flag. Oh, this is the killer.
I like this format. I like getting deep. We're not going to get deep on everyone. That's just
No.
not worth it. For Part 3, which we're doing next week, the only homework, in addition to the actual movie, I've got a couple of clips from a movie that kind of get visually referenced that I might have you watch on YouTube, but we don't have to do it live, but I'll just mention
Okay.
it. Well, there's a lot
They
to do
definitely
with
played
3.
with
We're
it.
not going to get, we're at 3 hours now. We're not going to get 3 hours out of Part 3, but that's probably fine. It's probably for the better that they're not all lengthy.
Right.
2 is special.
Well, no, we dabbled in a lot of. This is a film film class, and you definitely even opened my eyes up to a few things. So I think it was worth it. Makes me want to dabble in the 70s possible influence movies to see how many movies are actually influenced by these movies.
Oh my gosh.
Get Travis a yellow T-shirt.
The thing I'll
Get
tell
me a
you,
yellow
man,
T-shirt.
it's not as many as you'd think. Like,
Right.
there's really only like 3 or 4 that ever crossed over to the point that they got ripped off. But that's the fun thing is George hasn't seen like the sexy Jollos yet, and he hasn't seen the more like middle of the road kind of like swank rich people down at the coast Jollos with the, you know, ba ba da ba da 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 kind of scores, you know.
Right.
He's only seen the Hitchcock arch ones. We got to get
Right.
to the more like, you know, more Sergio Martino, a little less Argento. Yeah, there's a lot.
Cool.
That's a whole different show. Like we could do a whole show.
We'll
on
see what
making
fits
you
in the
guys-
season 2.
dude. Season 2 through season 20. We are gonna make him watch Giallo of Venezia though someday, and then I'll be like, hey, look, just like the head in the fridge.
As long as we watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure too, I think we'll be
I
good.
love Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I do not like Big Top Pee-wee.
No, me neither.
Not a fan. I never needed to see that man
You
kiss.
guys are
a woman.
actually talking critically about Pee-wee movies.
Dude,
I
Pee-wee-
love
the
it.
first Pee-wee is
Pee-wee movie
good.
is pretty amazing. Yeah. It's Tim Burton.
Put it on the
It's-
curriculum.
It's Tim Burton. It's classic Tim Burton.
It is pre-Batman.
Pre-Batman.
Pre-Bat. Tim Burton.
Post Beetlejuice or no? It's post Beetlejuice. I think.
No. I think
No,
it's
it's before
pre. I think it
Beetlejuice?
was first Pee-wee, then Beetle, then Bat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's classic. Where's that bell?
I need something to end on that's stronger than like, yeah, this didn't suck.
Did you learn something, George?
All right.
Yeah, Travis's mic stand is very tired.
Yes, it's in my nuts right now. I'm talking through my scrotum.
It explains so many things.
Wow. Check, please.
Well, George, we did it. We let you watch your first horror sequel. You don't know it yet, but it's going to get a lot more fun and a lot more crappy the farther we go in. So I appreciate you coming with us on this journey. Are you ready for next week's Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D?
In 3D?
Do you have a 3D
The
TV?
movie's in 3D. Well, we could try that.
I have access to a 3D TV.
Actually, all you need, because you have the DVD set, it's red-blue.
Mhm.
So if you get 2 red-blue goggles or glasses in time, it works, sort of.
I have those.
Okay.
So there you go. Yes, in 3D. Technology. 3D. Not 3 double D, though. That's a different movie.
Nah, you don't want to watch that movie. That's Giallo. That's a different kind of Giallo. 3 double D.
No, that Piranha, it was a Piranha movie a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It's full of boobs. Seems like something Crotch Travis would like.
Yes, gone.
Crotch Travis sounds
Crotch
like
Travis.
what's his name?
We are drunk, and I'm holding up my mic. How's it going? Crotch Travis.
Thank you for joining us on this special edition of the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us at Twitter and Instagram at Remedial Film Pod. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. And of course, you can email me at remedialfilmpod@gmail.com. We'll see you next week for Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D.